To the car.
Good evening, everyone. The time is now 5:28. All mics are hot, and we are broadcasting on all platforms.
My teeth. Oh, me too. I still got some, but thank you. Get some pictures.
529, right? The May 6th, 2025 meeting of the City Council is called to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Redpath, will you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Alderman Cox.
Present.
Alderman Gregory.
Here.
Alderman Williams.
Here.
Alderman Rockford.
Here.
Alderwoman Purchase. Alderwoman Netriano.
Here.
Alderman Carlson.
Here.
Alderwoman Conley.
Present.
Alderman Donlin.
Here.
Alderman Hanauer.
Here.
Mayor Busher.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Clerk Redpath. The Civility Pledge. In the interest of civility, I pledge to promote civility by listening, being respectful of others, acknowledging that we are all striving to support and improve our community, and understanding that we each may have different ideas for achieving that objective. Tonight, there are no proclamations or presentations, so the chair will now entertain with a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the April 1st, 2025 regular City Council meeting and approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The chair will entertain a motion to incorporate the pre-council first reading of ordinances into the record of this council meeting.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion carries. The chair will now entertain a motion to suspend the rules and call for an omnibus vote to add on to first reading agenda item numbers 2025-209, 2025-210, 2025-211, 2025-212, and 2025-213. These ordinances were all available in the city's website and in the council packet, but were not listed under first read on the city's published agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Alderman Gregory.
Yes, I just have a point of information. Corporation Counsel Murdoch, when we suspend rules and add items on the agenda, that can remain, and we can do that until we adjourn tonight. Am I correct in that?
Well, so these are going on first read.
For first reading?
Right, so this motion would only apply to these. So if this is moved and seconded and voted, and you want to suspend the rules later on for a different agenda item, then that would need to be moved and seconded and then voted on again. So this 2/3 vote, which is required to do this, will not carry through the whole meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Alderman Gregory?
no.
Okay. So all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 2025-209, an ordinance amending Chapter 110 of the 1988 City of Springfield Code of Ordinances as amended by revising Article XL Sections 110.600 through 110.609 regarding the increase of ambulances required to be available for EMS system calls and transport. 2025-210, an ordinance authorizing execution of a service level agreement with Brycer LLC to provide third-party reporting services to act as file safety's third party for tracking and gathering of required inspection documentation for the Springfield Fire Department. 2025-211, an ordinance accepting and authorizing the execution of a lease agreement pursuant to RFP FD 25-53 with Stryker Sales LLC for an 8-year agreement with the lease of 23 LifePak 35 cardiac monitor defibrillators for an amount not to exceed $215,241.64 for the Springfield Fire Department. 2025-212, an ordinance authorizing execution of a professional services contract in an amount not to exceed $28,400 with Fast Forward Libraries LLC for the development of a 3 to 5 year strategic plan for Lincoln Library. 2025-213, an ordinance accepting proposal RFP-CR 25-23 for general labor renovations and home repair located at 1933 East Cedar with Monty Construction for an amount not to exceed $74,497.50 as part of the City of Springfield's My First Home initiative for the Office of Community Relations. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So
These were on first read?
since we already moved and approved them
We're
for
good?
first read, now we've read them into the
right.
record for first read, so we can
So the
move
motion
on
just
on the
carries, we
agenda.
don't need to vote again. Okay, so the motion carries, we are good. The next item on the agenda, thank you, Corporation Counsel. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to incorporate the pre-council reading of the consent agenda into the record of the council meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion carries. The chair will now entertain a motion to place the consent agenda on final passage.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, the voting will now be open. All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
I'm a yes.
Was that Alderman Rockford?
Alderman Rockford's a yes.
Okay, so that's not, the motion passes with 9 voting yes, none voting no. Sorry, Alderman, I didn't see who said that. There are no items remained tabled or in committee. The next item on the agenda is 2025-160, an ordinance accepting proposal number UE 25-43 with J. Oros Properties, LLC for removal and beneficial use of coal combustion byproducts in an amount not to exceed $1 million for the Office of Public Utilities. The chair will entertain a motion to put agenda item 2025-160 on final passage.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the alders? Seeing none, the voting will now be open. All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no. And the motion passes with 9 voting yes, none voting no. The next item on the agenda is 2025-172, an ordinance amending Chapter 94, Article 9 of the 1988 City of Springfield Code of Ordinances as amended to charge fees to assisted living facilities, independent living facilities, nursing care, and nursing home facilities for lift assists.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second, and we have an amendment in front of us. Would anyone like to?
I'd like to move we adopt amendment number 1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt amendment number 1. Alderman Gregory, I see you signed up. I'm going to read the amendment real quick if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, sir. The amendment itself just allows that no fee to be applied for the first 2 lift assists in each calendar year, and it also reiterates that the fee shall not be charged to a resident. So that's what the amendment says. So we have a motion and a second for the amendment. Alderman Gregory, is your comment on the ordinance itself or the amendment? Sorry.
On the amendment,
Okay, go ahead, sir.
thank you. Corporation Counsel, can we can the business still legally charge them even with this?
So if a resident gets charged under our ordinance and brings it to us, we would have recourse to tell the business that they are in violation of our ordinance. I'll be honest with you, I think enforcement of that would be difficult if the business did not outright say that's the charge, but instead had a across-the-board fee to, say, cover their increased costs. I don't know how we would regulate that or insert that cost control, but this prohibits direct charging to the residents.
Chief, last week I asked you for some numbers on where this occurs the most at in the places.
Yeah, I thought I sent that to you with the, it was like a one-page deal to your email.
Okay. I did not.
Hang on, let me just.
Please. Mayor, can you,
Yes, sir.
while I review this, can you move?
Sure, then we can come back to you. Absolutely, Alderman. Alderman Williams, is your comment on the amendment? We're on discussion on the amendment, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
It's on the amendment, again, you know, in my ward is Springfield Assisted Living over on Clear Lake. And in the amendment, it gives two, and I wanted to ask the sponsor or whoever put the amendment in, how did they come up with two?
I'm going to let the chief answer that if you don't mind, sir.
We based it on other, so no other community really gives a break. There was only one or two that gave a break, and it was for something else, and they did it on the third occurrence. And so we based it on what other communities utilize.
Okay.
Or when they give a break for violations, so.
Because, I mean, actually, this particular facility, as you told me, with the numbers you gave me, it was only one. But I am concerned about facilities where everybody, the majority of the clients are on Medicare or Medicaid, and the cost being passed down. And I'm not sure if corporate counsel's answer is guaranteeing that the facility won't pass the cost on. You know, I don't know if there's a way we can guarantee that to make sure that, but the amendment really doesn't address that per se. It does have that statement that no cost. And I want to know how we can say no cost to the resident if we don't, are we lawfully able to say they can't charge them?
Yes, we can put in that restriction. My concern would be if all residents were charged an increase in fee by the establishment itself. But if a resident falls and is subject to a lift assist, and then their bill is $100 higher than anybody else there, that would be a violation of this ordinance.
Okay, because like I said, they're already in dire straits and live in this particular facility. My second concern is on your number two. You can have two falls in one day, and then that's it. This says per year.
Per year.
And
correct.
I'm just thinking if it couldn't be higher, but I'll yield and listen and see if I can come to some kind of conclusion in my own mind. Thank you.
The main purpose is to ensure that the facilities have staff available to take care of the people in their facility, and instead of relying on the municipal services of the fire department. So the facility that is supposed to be taking care of these people, that they have adequate staff. I get it. Somebody could fall twice in one day. Yeah. And if they do fall twice in one day, maybe they have a bigger problem, maybe something medical occurring that they would need to go to the hospital. And if they go to the hospital, then that's not a lift assist, that's a medical call.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and like I said last week, I don't want them to abuse the city. I don't want the fire department to be out on a lot of these calls, lifting people up off the floor or from one chair to the bed and all that. But at the same time, I just don't want it to cost the client, the residents. So I'm still kind of struggling with this, but
Okay.
we'll see where we go. And where
Thank you.
Mayor,
Sure.
Can we let the record show that Alderwoman Purchase just joined the meeting?
Yes, sir. Thank you, clerk. Alderman Gregory, would you like me to wait still or come back to you now?
Pass that around.
Continue. Oh, yes, sir. Alderwoman Purchase.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Corporation Counsel, with us being home rule, can't we put it in their license? to ensure that we would not charge the tenant or one of our seniors for that additional cost?
I would need to look at our licensing provision. Again, it's, even if we did that, what my concern that I expressed to Alderman Gregory and Alderman Williams is an increase in the total fees, but they're not allowed to
Hit them directly?
Yeah, to directly charge these fees through to the resident.
Yes, so I have 5 or 6 high-rises in my ward, so that's a big concern for me. And then, Chief Canning, have you sat down with most of these facilities to have some dialogue back and forth?
Not really, no. And so like in your, you said high-rise, and it's not high-rise per se. So it's assisted living, congregate care facilities.
Yeah, I think I only
You
have
know,
2.
as the definitions, it's only the facilities that meet the definitions outlined in the ordinance. And so, like, you have 424, that is not a congregate care facility. You've got 401, 400, those are not congregate care, those are different, outside of the box. I don't know that you have any
Okay,
congregate,
that's okay.
you actually span a large area, so I'm not sure. You may have one,
Okay.
but I don't think you have a large number of them.
And you said you haven't had a
No,
conversation with them?
No, we have not. There's 4 listed that are the main offenders, and, you know, we have run multiple calls there, and we are getting, feedback from the crews and such, but if you want, you know, we can reach out to them. However, we need to have some sort of, you know, ordinance that's on.
Accountability in place.
Yes, exactly. Why would they curb what they're doing if there's no reason for them to curb it?
I do, I echo what Alderman Williams said, like, I don't want them abusing our firefighters, but I also want to make sure we're transparent and kind of talking to them and having that dialogue so they understand what's about to happen too.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Alderman Hanauer.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, how many of our workers' compensation cases come because of these? Do you have any statistics on that, or?
So as far as workers' comp, that would be more like HR would have our numbers. Fire department has the largest number of workers' comp cases within the city. Am I correct, Mayor? Is that, and,
What I think
you
I
know, a
heard
lot
too.
of it is back injuries, lifting, things like that. And so, you know, we had a person pension off this past year, and his reasoning was multiple back injuries from lifting patients.
I've talked to many firefighters, and they say that's how they get hurt.
Yes.
By lifting people, and I'm concerned about that. I also, a while back, I talked to someone that's worked at many of the different retirement villages and they said that the way back, they used to have staff that was their primary responsibility, but because the city didn't charge, they found it was cheaper for them not to hire people and just let us do it for free. And I think that's, you know, of course, they're making a pretty good profit. And I do think that I'm like you, I don't want the individuals to get charged, but I do think that it should come through the retirement facilities themselves. And, you know, I don't know how many they have a day or whatever, but for some of them, it's still going to be cheaper if we charge them, you know, than if they would hire people.
Yes, that's actually one of the things that I see as possibly a downfall, is just that. It could be cheaper for them to continue to utilize us.
Thank you, Mayor.
Alderwoman Conley.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. And when we talked about this last week, you brought up something that I think, I looked into a little bit more, but this is actually a requirement. These are regulated under the Department of Public Health.
Public health, yes.
There are standards for what kind of staff they're supposed to have to ensure that they can give adequate care to the people who are living there, regardless of like Alderman Williams, like with your facility, it doesn't matter what the income source is. They're required to have a certain staffing levels.
Right.
And this kind of service is something that they are, at the state level, supposed to be providing already.
Right, and if you were in your home, if we go on a call for people in their own home, you know, one of the things that if you're in your own home, after we've been to you so many times, we then invoke the public health to send someone out from them to check on the person and make sure that they are okay living by themselves in their own home, and then help offer them assistance, and then get them to if they need to, a facility that will provide them assistance. And so if when they get to a facility that there's not the assistance being provided, then it doesn't help them individually either, so.
And this, and I want to be really clear, because you've mentioned this last week, and I think it's because again, Alderman Williams' good point, what if someone falls twice in a day? But falling twice in a day indicates there may be an underlying medical issue. So is the fire department, because I know we're trained EMTs, let's say someone does fall a second time and we go back out to do an assist, are we able to say, no, we think you need to go into the hospital now?
Yes, we can say, hey, we think you need to go into the hospital. Maybe it's not obvious,
can
but
decline that,
they
right?
can decline that, correct. It is still a patient's choice on whether or not they wish to be transported. But with our people trained at the level they are, they can recognize, you know, because sometimes when people fall, they may be experiencing signs of a stroke that they don't recognize, or blood sugar issues, or a number of things that could be going on that our people hopefully will recognize because they were called for this fall. And then it turns into not a lift assist, it becomes a medical call. And then we'll call for an ambulance and get those people to the hospital where they can be seen and treated for whatever is going on.
And once it's a medical call, there absolutely is no charge.
Correct.
No
Medical
one
calls
should be worried about calling 911 for medical assistance.
That's correct. That is
Because
correct.
I have a lot of senior citizens,
Yes.
and I want to be very clear that people, if this passes, no one should be afraid of calling 911 for assistance.
Right, and we run 27,000 calls last year, and 60% of those are for medical calls. And so, those are no charge to the citizens of Springfield. We show up, we treat, we're the first responders. We're providing, life-saving care. We're usually the first ones there if somebody's in a full arrest or a respiratory arrest, and our people do a great job. They are getting people back better than the national average, through CPR and through defibrillation and medication, and all of that is at no charge to the citizens. So yes, if you have a medical emergency, please call 911 and don't stall, call. So
Thank you very much, Chief. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Donlin.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chief. I want to first of all say I appreciate the mayor and the staff for listening to the comments I and several others made last week about not charging the residents. I think that's important, and I'm glad to see that in this ordinance. I would suggest that as a part, if this does indeed pass, that we have a communication effort to not only the facilities to make it very clear, but to any residents on an ongoing basis. And as Alderman Hanauer was talking, I thought of this. Since we see a pattern with these 4 facilities, has anybody, or we'll just put it this way, in the future I'd ask that we reach out to the state and notify them that we see this pattern. They don't have the staff, because he's absolutely right. They're going to try to utilize the $350 isn't a lot of money probably in the scheme of things in the medical community. We all know that any minor procedure or service is a lot more than $350. So.
Right.
That would probably be worth looking into, and I appreciate these efforts. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Notriano.
Thank you. So my question is related to what Alderwoman Purchase brought up about city licensure. So I'm not familiar with how we license these homes, but we do.
We don't currently,
Okay.
so if we wanted to do that, it would be a process of looking at the state licensure, what the city could and couldn't regulate based on that. So that would be a whole separate issue.
Okay. Well, I just bring it up because it would be something really handy for us to have if we could, you know, put their license on probation or what have you, if they have a certain number of these falls, like, I mean, that's something they can't pass along to the residents.
Yeah, and what we can do in the short term is certainly report all the lifts for the ones that we are seeing. If they don't have the adequate staffing to do it, even with this, we can do that, and then I can talk with you if you want to look at licensure.
Okay. And then another thing I'd say is if we think that this amount times 98 or 78 or whatever these numbers are, is going to be a better deal for them, why don't we talk about a higher number than 300? I mean,
So let me throw a couple of things out. Well, one thing that that was in the ordinance was a start date for this. That probably needs adjusted as well, because I think it was April 1st, because we've been working on it for a while. So that probably needs adjusted, but it is for a 1-year time period. And I would say at 1 year, and I'm not saying, I want to kick the can down the road because I won't be here, but at 1 year, I think you should relook at it and definitely figure out, is it working, is it not working?
yeah.
Because if maybe the fee needs raised, maybe needs to go a different direction. Decatur had great success with it. They saw, like
And
half.
what's their rate?
Hang on a second.
800?
I want to say 500, but let me look just to make sure. 500,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would just imagine if we put the rate at like 800 or 1,000, that would be something that would be very difficult, I would think, to pass along to every single resident and sort of make it harder for them to hide how they're trying to recoup their cost on it. Just thoughts. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Alderman Gregory, I'm back. Oh, wait, sorry. Alderman Rockford signed up.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Chief,
Yes.
do we have a way of knowing what the staffing is at these facilities?
No. I mean, we don't, like on a day-to-day basis, no, we don't regulate that, no.
Well, no, but I mean, so now we're gonna put in an amendment to an ordinance, but how do we, who's the watchdog over these facilities? I know it's the state.
Yes.
But how are we gonna
The
find
facility,
out?
the facility needs to regulate themselves to make sure they have the staff available to take care of it. Or maybe they have the staff, but they've said, no, we're not going to
then
do
they
that.
call you. I got you.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Gregory, I'm back to you.
Thank you, I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
So I wanted for everybody to see the list of the 4, offenders. One not so bad as the others. One had almost 100 calls, so that's definitely a problem. But I would be more comfortable if we was sort of just going after them because obviously there's some games being played there. But when I look at, and one of them looked like they got similar names or something like that. These are, I guess what I'm saying, these are some of the nicer assisted living facilities throughout our community. I have no clue why they don't have staff like they're supposed to have. And, so I don't know, I'll take some thoughts from somebody, but I think we got to get them under control, and not punish the rest of the seniors who have true needs and things like that throughout our city and things. Because regardless of what living situation they in, whether it's house or whether it is a assisted living facility, they're still our citizens. And finding them is not going to reduce our workers' comp and things of that nature. It's us not doing it and them having a staff. So I'm definitely interested in what we're going to do statewide or us to make sure that those facilities have the proper staffing, similar to what we're trying to do with these ambulances, to take care of the people that paying them a lot of money. Those is probably private pay there. Them probably ain't no Medicare, Medicaid primary facilities. they're probably private pay. So what I'm saying is those people are paying, they don't qualify for something, that means that they probably made a coin in their life, and they can't even get the proper people there to assist them. That's crazy. I think we not only have to, charge them and get them to reduce and do their job, but we gotta make sure that we put some provisions in that they're, going forward, that they're gonna have staff to take care of their people. That's the biggest worry that I have outside of us having to go lift them, here and there. But those 4 facilities, I'm really surprised at seeing that, So that's my spiel. I just don't feel comfortable, because some other facilities, I just fear that somebody will be slick and pass these fees on, and it's going to be a bigger problem. I don't want to tax them, raise the fee so high that now we got assisted living places closing and all this. Now we got a bigger problem on our hands. So I just think we need to be careful on how we go about this. I think those 4, especially those top 3, is definitely way out of order. I don't know what the bottom half of that list is, but it dropped significantly from 1 to 4.
Right.
So
yeah, and I've got like
I hear you.
the list of how many, like it's all inclusive.
I mean, most of these places got like 100 people. So if we got a facility that got 20 and they got 100 people in there, from a city side of it, I don't have a problem with our firefighters helping out in that manner. But if it was 100 times and you're constantly there, and like what we're seeing with those 3 of the 4. I definitely see that issue, but, like I say, I haven't seen the bottom half of the list, but those who would have some, it's dropped, 98 to under 30, so, that's just my comment, so thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Williams, did you have anything else? You're still
Mine is to the ordinance, so not to the amendment.
Not till,
so I'll
okay,
wait.
finish with the amendment. Alderman Cox.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. When you guys get these calls, are these coming in through 911 or the dispatch number? How do you guys get notified?
It's just your keyboard. So,
Typically, or is it both?
It depends, if somebody calls, they can call 911. It comes through Sangamon County Dispatch Center, but they could call 911 or they could call the non-emergency line, either way. But we don't know how that's received. Dispatch receives it and then dispatches us to it.
Okay, and when you go to one of these events, are we lights and sirens, full fire truck going down the road, going across red lights and things, or are we jumping in one of the little red trucks and driving down?
We're always
stopping at stoplights and.
No, we're always in a fire engine or a fire truck, but if it's a lift assist, if it comes in as a lift assist, we are just responding, driving there.
Okay.
It's not an emergency, we're just driving at speed of traffic.
Okay. Do you have any idea how many hours the fire department has spent doing these in the last year, or any time period, on average, on month, week, whatever? Any idea?
Overall lift assist, I would say probably 3,000 hours, because
A year?
Yeah, because the 13 houses, 13 rigs, so you can divide that down, but we ran about, roughly 3,000 of those. Now, that's to facilities and to private residences, so.
Okay.
So that's all inclusive.
All inclusive, okay.
But you could figure basically from the time the call comes in to the time you get there, you help them up, make sure they're okay, get their information and then return to service. I'd say it's about an hour a call.
All right, how many people are on that fire truck when they head that way?
3.
Okay. And as I think you stated, you have no idea what the staffing is at these facilities?
Correct, no.
You don't monitor that? That's not your
No,
job?
that is not our job.
Okay. When you get there, if you see a bunch of guys built like The Rock, I mean, can you sit there and say, hey, you pick them up? This isn't our job? Or do
So-
you guys have to pick them up?
So I do know that has occurred at some facilities, and, it's been passed back to me, and facilities have called to complain because our people have said, well, why didn't you pick up somebody? And, they say like Alderman said over here, that they are told by the facilities in some cases that they don't want them to do that, to call the fire department. That's their protocol, is to fire.
Because they're on the same side we are, in a way. We're putting our firefighters at risk to pull a back out, and now they can't go fight a fire,
Right.
right?
Right.
Well, these owners or managers or whoever and I'm not trying to point fingers, I don't know anything about any of these facilities, quite frankly. But they also don't want their staff to get hurt either, right? So that's why they're calling the fire department.
Right.
All right, very- thank you.
Thanks.
Alderman Donlin?
Yeah, Mayor, just a point of clarification. Chief, you mentioned on the final page of the amendment, it said the effective date is, would be April 1.
April
Obviously, we're
1.
past that. So
Right.
what do you and/or Corporation Council suggest the start date be? June 1, July 1?
What does it say? I would suggest July 1, that way it's a nice half year, and then we also have time to, talk to the facilities to tell them that this is coming, but, because it won't pass until next week, this is for passage.
Well, Mayor, to that end, I'd like to make a motion to amend amendment number 1 to make the effective date on page, it would be 3, from April 1 to July 1.
Second.
Is that okay
Motion
with,
and a second to amend the amendment to also add the date of July 1 as the effective date. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The amendment has been amended. Thank you, Alderman Donlin. Anything else, Alderman Donlin?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Alderman Williams?
Yes, so Chief, this is what I've heard when I talk to them, that both sides don't want to pick the person up. Everybody's worried about liability. Everybody's worried about workman's comp. I mean, talk to a few people that work at these places, and they say, well, we don't know if they're on blood thinner, we don't know if there's broken bones, so we're trained not to move them or not to touch them, but to get the higher authority that has the training, which is the fire department, to do that lift and that movement. Now, I don't know who's right or who's wrong in the situation, and again, I don't want to see them abuse you, so couldn't we create some kind of threshold? I mean, I'm 1, and then there's somebody on there that's 100. We should have maybe a threshold before the fines start. Because maybe I'm 1 because I do have the right kind of staff and I do manage them kind of situations better. But now I'm getting ready to get caught up in everybody's going to be under this after that second time, because like I said, in health, you don't know, you might have a bad week and get 4 or 5 falls, and then you may go a long time and get none. But when you get these kind of numbers like them 4 facilities, personally, I think you should take on the 4 facilities. But if you feel like that's singling them out or something, I don't know. I think you would be justified, corporate counsel, to deal with the 4 facilities instead of making the industry or the occupation the problem. Because, we're going to have falls. And different people deal with falls differently. Some of them do exactly as I said and was told. They don't touch them because they don't know if they're on blood thinners. They don't know if their bone is broken or they don't know the history. So you got the staff that has that training.
right, so I understand your argument, I do, but I also, to go back to Alderman Cox's statement, when they call in, the dispatch asks them questions, which decides whether or not it's a medical call or an assist-up call, a lift assist call. So they already know if the person's injured or not injured when they make that call.
So are you telling me they can call in and know the person on the ground does have broken bones or don't have broken bones?
Well,
See, sometimes I think it could be both.
it could be if they don't know what happened, and then that would be an unknown. But most of the time, they know if the person just slid down in their chair or if they, how they fell. So, but no, I get it. There's special circumstances. I understand that, and we can look at that as it arises. But this is not unique to Springfield. We are kind of late to the game on this. Decatur, Peoria, Morton, Moline, Rockford, everywhere else has done this same thing that has home rule, and it's just one of those things that is actually the norm now for facilities to migrate to this direction, and then municipalities respond in this direction. Now, if I understand your concerns. I do. I get that. We do not want the frail, the people on Medicare, Medicaid. We understand that they're already taxed, and it's our honor to go and help those people And, you know, that's what we got into the business for, is to serve people. But we also understand that our salaries are paid by the taxpayers, and private entities should not, you know, be capitalizing on that. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but.
It didn't, but that's fine. Thank you.
Alderman Carlson?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. Chief, I gotta believe, and I think you might have mentioned something last week, I mean, is the problem partly because we have some bad actors out there?
Yes, that's what you mentioned before.
So we have some bad actors, and then obviously we have a lot of facilities are suffering like anybody else, any other place of business, I mean, just short of staff.
Right.
And, you know, for me, I think, you know, Corporation Counsel answered it well enough that, hey, we can kind of go after these people if we know that they're going to pass on the cost. So, you know, for that reason, I think, you know, I can live with the amendment. And so, yeah, thanks, Mayor.
Absolutely. So we do have one citizen that signed up to speak on the ordinance, but right now we're discussing the amendment, and we need to vote on that. Are all the council members, does anyone else have any other discussion on the amendment, I guess is what I'm asking, because I have two of you signed up. I just want to make sure that we're done with the amendment. We're good? Okay.
Mayor.
Alderwoman Purchase.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Chief Cannon, I thought I heard you say it, but I am in favor of it with giving it to Alderman Donelan's new date, but ensuring that you sit down with the facilities to let them know.
Right,
what's
between
getting
now
ready.
and July 1st.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Alderman Carlson.
I'm sorry, real quick, I forgot to add on. Since we're going to start this, Alderman Donovan, we're going to start this June 1? July 1. July 1. Maybe we can get a status report, an update after 6 months at the end of December?
I don't see why not, yes.
I mean, can you
Yes.
assure us, and
I
this is
will-
probably your last meeting, but can you assure us?
I will be here next week. I will
Okay,
be
very
here
good.
next week.
But
So a
let's do that. I
status
mean, we've had
report,
much debate on this the last couple of weeks.
yes, status report
And-
December 1, yes.
And let's just see what the numbers are, if any adjustments have to be made, so, thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
So all those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Chief. We have one citizen who signed up to speak on this before we move up to the next portion of approving it. I want to let that citizen speak. So Rosanna Polito, you signed up to speak on 2025-172? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for allowing me to address the City Council about this ordinance that will affect nursing homes and senior living facilities. I'm not sticking up for the nursing homes. I'm a voice for the voiceless, the seniors that live there. Personally, I believe this is a deadly decision. First, I'd like to qualify my comments. I worked as an emergency medical technician on both Navy Pier and McCormick Place in my younger days. I received my training from Columbus Hospital in Chicago from a Chicago firefighter. To take care of my own parents, I became a CNA. I also took calls for lift assist when I served as a police and fire dispatcher in Northfield, Illinois. Secondly, I have been involved in senior living facilities in Chicago, Corpus Christi, and Springfield, Illinois. One of the main problems now is that any kind of business in 2025 has the problem of staff shortages. This is a real problem, especially in the senior living industry. I think a simple point we can all agree on is that 80% of the seniors are on blood thinners. If a senior falls, how does an untrained medical person know if they have a fracture or internal bleeding? That's why many times senior facilities call emergency medical services, who are trained to be able to better assess the medical situation. As a CNA, I did not receive proper training on how to lift a 190-pound man off the floor. And let's get real. I would like to address the women in the horseshoe. Why? Because 85% of the employees who work at these facilities are women. So, most likely, if you ladies vote yes to this ordinance, remember, it will be a woman who's doing the lifting of the 190-pound man. You are expecting women to lift these fragile seniors off the floor. They have no training to lift and will be subject to be sued personally, besides the nursing home being sued. So could you ladies please take a minute to imagine yourself being called upon to lift a person on the floor now because your management is directing you to. What seniors are experiencing now, even without this ordinance being passed, is being denied a call for emergency medical services, all at the hands of untrained medical personnel at these facilities, because there are many apprehensive now in calling emergency medical services because they know some medical personnel are annoyed. I've seen it myself. And remember, since I worked as a police and fire dispatcher, I love the police and fire personnel. From a dispatcher perspective, I understand their hard work and the danger they walk into. And I also understand seniors from being one myself and working in the industry. And I understand that these senior citizens are men and women who built this country and fought for this country for the freedoms that you and I now enjoy. They paid taxes and built this city of Springfield. Unfortunately, now in their darkest hour, when they're most fragile, losing their memories and God-given bodily function in their final years of life, I believe you need to put safeguards in so these people can live with dignity. I understand we live in a world where everything is about money. Please take time to consider these thoughts before passing the ordinance. For the least of these, our senior population. I understand many towns are doing this. That doesn't make it right. And I was doing some research myself. Part of me believes that this ordinance would absolutely 1,000% be supported by trial lawyers of Springfield, Illinois, because they're bound to receive a windfall of business because of the families reaching out to them after they start seeing the advertisements and commercials. Did your loved one get involved in a nursing home or senior facility? Call us now. No charge to you until we win the case.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your time. The chair will now entertain a motion to place agenda item 2025-172 as amended on final passage.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion from the council on the ordinance? Seeing none, the voting will now be open. All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no. And the motion passes with 8 voting yes, 2 voting no. Is there any unfinished business to bring before the city council?
Yes, Mayor.
Alderman Hanauer.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I've got a statement from the Springfield Sangamon County Growth Alliance that they asked me to read. The Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance, SSGA, has requested that the proposed amendment to its contract with the City of Springfield be removed from tonight's City Council meeting agenda. This request is intended to allow SSGA's Board of Directors sufficient time to carefully review and deliberate the proposed changes alongside City Council members in a productive way. The amendment introduced by the City Council at its April 15th meeting was not shared with SSGA in advance of its public introduction. SSGA Board, which includes 28 local residents, healthcare professionals, CEOs, and business owners, will address the matter at an upcoming board meeting. SSGA cannot accept unilateral contract amendments presented in this manner. We intend to work with the city on an agreement that is mutually beneficial to both organizations and benefits the people of Springfield in a productive and efficient way. We cannot achieve that by trying to adjust to unexpected and unilateral amendments to an agreement that happened on the floor of City Council. SSGA will continue to support the City of Springfield. We remain a proud partner of the city and will continue our mission to foster economic growth and prosperity for all residents in an efficient and productive way. We are committed to a transparent and collaborative review process that leads to a strong, mutually beneficial agreement for both the city and community. With that, I do not intend to
Motion to withdraw
move-
this.
Second.
What?
Motion to withdraw. It's been seconded. There is no debate. Let's vote.
I still got to,
Alderman Gregory, I'm sorry, I just want clarification. What are you motioning to withdraw?
Motion to withdraw his amendment.
if I did that to
It's
you,
been
Sean, you'd go
It's
crazy.
been seconded. It's been seconded. Can't hear it.
I don't believe there's anything on the floor at this
There's
point.
nothing on the
Let-
floor
let
to
me-
vote on.
Let me check.
He was just making a statement. I don't think, that's why I was trying to clarify what you're motioning.
I have no intention of moving further with that, so there's no reason to withdraw it because I'm
No
not
motion.
moving on it.
Okay. He was just reading a statement, I think, Alderman. There wasn't any action being taken, which is why I was trying to clarify. Absolutely, yeah.
So point of order, so why is it on the agenda?
So he put.
If he's saying he has no reason and doesn't want to move it forward, who put it on the agenda?
I put it on the agenda.
Then what are you doing? Either you
They've
moving
asked
it-
me, the Sangamon Growth Alliance asked me to pull it. That's what I did.
So from what I'm understanding just happened, he just read a statement from them. He doesn't intend on bringing up the ordinance. Would that be correct, sir?
That's correct.
Okay. And I'll come back to you in 1 second. Alderman Gregory signed up first, so I just want to get to him if that's okay. Okay, Alderman Gregory, you had pushed your button first. I'm going to call on you.
So thank you, Mayor. So I get what Sangamon County, Springfield, Sangamon County Growth, Springfield, Sangamon County Growth Alliance. But what I'm not understanding is us 10, let me get this straight. So our funds, what fund, it comes out of Fund 95, am I correct, Ms. Ramona? Is that our corporate fund? Anybody
She'll look
know?
it up while you're talking.
Thank you.
She'll
So
get with you.
here we have a pot of money, and there's an outside entity that we partner with to carry out and promote the city of Springfield, bring businesses here and things like that. And we can't tell them, they can't accept a contract from us that tells them to target it. I talked to Ryan. He was in full support of it, as he said when he came up here. We did this April 15th. In my mind, the ordinance passed, time's ticking, get to work. I asked for a report in 6 months. Simple things. And when you go to their website, this is what I'm talking about right here. This is what I'm asking for. Hold on.
While you're looking that up, I'm going to let Director Metzger answer your.
I'll paraphrase. Yes, Mr. Metcalf.
I'll let her answer that real quick for you, sir.
It's funded out of corporate.
Okay, out of corporate fund. So, when you go to the website, it talks about members, come be a member of this exclusive club and get exclusive inside information and all this craziness. So just our regular businesses who don't pay them ain't worthy of their expertise? Is that what we're saying up here? All we try to do was a small little committee to say, hey, we got some businesses here that could use this exclusive inside look at whatever they do and get all of this help, be connected with all these people. That's what we're trying to do, is just bring that same love that other people get into our inner city, to our east side, to the north side. That's it. It wasn't to take nothing from them, because I some of the members that's a part of it, I like and I respect. But they had a month And they can't take one vote on on $50,000 on a subcommittee. Pillsbury, we partnered together. They dropped 100, we dropped 100 as the city council. That's what I'm talking about. It's some little projects over here that might need a little help on architecture, might need soil samples. Their expertise to grow. That's all we're looking for. So the ordinance is passed. I'm not for sure, Mary. You signed that thing? Yeah, you signed it.
I don't have it on my desk yet with the ordinances, but it will come to me.
Because when she signs it, it's official.
It's official on our end, but I think they have to sign it too. Like any contract, when I get contracts, once they pass council, I sign, then they go to the vendor, and then the vendor signs and returns it, just so you know.
So basically, they're not gonna do anything until they get the
I have
thing
no
into
idea.
that.
I'm just explaining my
But
process
they're also
to
not
you.
getting
Yeah.
$250,000 from the city.
Okay. All right. So I'll just leave it, with this, the truth of the matter is that there's somebody somewhere that just does not want to work with the people on the east side. I don't know who it is. And that's the truth. I don't know who it is. I don't know who's calling the ultimate shots. But somebody is deliberately just halting this. And we play into it when I come up here and bring projects, or there's projects that affect my ward or something, and a 70-minute conversation. Yes, and you will say, well, give me. And you'll say, well, Sean, I always vote for the east side. Yeah, after I gotta wrestle you down, we gotta wrestle you down, dog. For real. You gotta twist your arm and stuff like that. You stubborn. And I know you got some people in your ear. I get it. But for once, can we tell all those people, back out, let us govern. Let us do it. We got it. Or I could just call them. Just tell me who it is that just call. I know how it works. I'm an alderman. I've been an alderman. I know we get calls when it's hot topics. I get it. But we can tell her, hey, we got something to do. We're trying to bring our city together. You can't control us every time that we have something to do. We control what we put out in our money. It's our money. It has to affect the whole city. The whole city. Not just my ward, Jeff, Roy, on and on. All of our wards. And for the most part, a lot of times, we just passed a, $2.5 million thing. Not one question. I asked the questions. I pressed the man. Alderwoman Conley said a few things. Mr. Carson, you come out to consent and we didn't ask no questions. We can't operate like that and then give me 70-minute battle every time I bring something up here. That's unfair. Those are the things that make us look like we're upholding. Because all of us agree. Now, let me ask the question. Do we agree that a lot of things in the political realm need to be fixed or broken? Do you believe that? Anybody believe that? Because I believe it. So I don't come up here to keep doing things, and I'm just speaking for me because I'm speaking for my ward, because I don't want to speak for anybody else who support what we're trying to do. But I'm trying to fix and break down the barriers that many of us say exist. So when it comes before us, we see it, we got to attack it. We got to cut it down. We got to knock it down, as mad as it may make some of our friends. We have to do that. I would love to have some of the relationships y'all have. I would love to talk to some of those people. I don't, like I say, and have these growth alliance experience. I know the guys, but we really don't have too many conversations because I'm gonna ask things like this. I'm gonna say, "Where's your brothers and sisters at?" That ain't no knock. It's plenty of people not black in this crowd that are not taking any offense to anything that I'm saying. None. And Ralph, you really not taking offense to it. You're not taking offense to it, because even after we had our blowout, we done talked, we done laughed in the back and everything. When people ask me, I said, no, he really ain't no racist. He just don't understand sometimes. So I gotta stay on him and deliver it. So when I see this, I didn't even get mad. I said, it going through Ralph. He turned out. I get it, man. But I'm just saying, we have to push back on these folks so we can run our city. It's hindering us. People see it. People understand it. And it just is what it is. I mean, you know, I want to get along. I want to talk. I don't call everybody and stuff, because every time I do on a project, I just sit back and I just pay attention. Because it's conversation and all types of stuff come out the woodwork. And I tell them all the time in our caucus meeting, watch, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And they come out and play just how we talk about it. And we laugh about it. Because I know it's coming. And we have to stop that. And that's all I'm asking. I would never do anything to hurt any of y'all wards, take nothing away from any of y'all wards, as much as I disagree with some of the decisions that we've done. But I always vote for it. I have some opinions on it, but I vote for it in the end. So I just would like to stop having so long conversations. You know, I think the people in the crowd, y'all need to keep coming, because if they ever do sign the contract and come back, we still need to have some good, fruitful conversations on how we push forward. So we'll wait, Mayor. You know, hopefully they sign that quick. If not, then we need to go to the drawing board and think of something else to get things going, because times are ticking and you know, people have things to do. And you know, I just want to end it on this. We only came to this consensus or talk from things that we heard from the people. We just went through a cannabis application. I've seen so many people stepping up the level of their hustle, so to speak. I mean, I'm talking about getting on the partial viewfinder, seeing who owns the property that's been vacant forever, getting on Facebook, finding the people, and the people like, man, I've been waiting to sell that property for years, man. I'm waiting. What you going for real? And I was just amazed. But guess what? I was also troubled, because I know Miss Julia Griffin. She's doing a good job. She's overwhelmed. She's working hard. There's a lot of people, a lot of questions. So then when we go to downtown Springfield, Inc., they held a little session over there in Southtown. Many people are like, why are they holding it over there? I'm glad he held it over there, because people from our community was able to hear about their thoughts and dreams and what was going on downtown and what was hindering them, and I was able to hear it. And I was amazed that they had some of the same issues of breaking down some barriers that exist with us and that we need to fix, even outside of the historical things that we talk about. But you know, things like downtown buildings that, you know, I guess you know, if it's too long, 18 months, now you got to bring it up to code, all this craziness. We need to look at things like that. We need to have some incentives to bring businesses downtown. See, I'm outside of east side. I'm in my downtown portion now, because we think about it all. So I can tell you this what I'm saying is a lot shorter than what it was going to be if you did move forward on that. But I want you to take it away, because you take it away because you know better, not because they asked you. That's why I'm still disappointed in you. I do it because you want to, not because of what they talking about. You better than that, Ralph. And I'm done.
Alderwoman Purchase.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Alderwoman. The floor.
Alderman Hanauer, I just want to encourage you, because my amendment that I was bringing forward was doing the $250,000 adding on an additional 75,000, which would have gave them a total of 325,000. And,
Oh,
hello? But I wanted to make sure that when you go back to talk to them, because they gave you this information to read to us, that there was some common ground here. We had asked for them to move 50,000 out of the 250, and I think it was even Alderman Donovan who said, how about we just add some extra money in? So I saw that there was a consensus that all of us was trying to work together to make this work. And when they come back, we had asked, I think when Ryan had left, he had said, I'm gonna go back and talk to the board and then come back and tell you what they thought, but we saw an amendment from you that just said we wanna do a reconsideration. So when me, Roy, and Sean was talking, we said, well, that's fine, they can keep the 250, but we still wanna add some money on. We're giving them money, we're not asking them to give money to look into this, we're giving them money to look into it. Then when Ryan said he was surprised that it took a long time for him to find the plans for the east side, we found out that our new employee, is his name Sean?
Pritchard.
Pritchard, he found them. So they've been here at the city, and nobody knew about them. And so I think that things are just being unfolded, and I think that it's a good thing that it's being unfolded. So now we're finding solutions to address them, but I was trying to find a common ground where we all could vote unanimously together, and we can support them, because I know I have projects coming from them as well for Ward 5, but I also support my colleagues too. So I was trying to find a united front where we could work together, and this could be an ongoing process. We don't know what those plans look like. Like you said, you've been around for a while and never seen them. So I think all of us should actually be taking a look at them. So I really hope they consider that, and I hope that my amendment can move forward when they come back. And I just wanted to ask for clarification. So they have their meeting on Thursday. Are they going to come back to city council? What is the steps after
They
that?
have no idea. They asked me to read that, I read it, and I'm not moving forward with it.
So could you also ask them as a favor? Can you ask them if they can provide us with the next steps of what they're going to do, like to come back and talk to us to let us know what's going on and how they're going to address it?
Mayor, you're on the board.
I'll be at the board meeting, so I will try to give you the synopsis.
And I think that, so Mayor,
We get order, please.
Order in the council chambers, because the city contributed in the past, the mayor was on the board, whether it was the previous mayor, the one before that, or the one before that. It's just part of it.
So Mayor, I would just like to ask that they bring back a plan from this letter, the memo that they gave Ralph to read to us, a plan of what the next steps is. And that will tell from the amendments that we brought forward how we proceed too.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Alderman Williams.
So my take is a little different than Alderwoman Purchase. So we gave them our plan. And we don't need to wait on them. When they come back, and we need to prepare for when they come back. But before I get to that, if the mayor is on their board, corporate counsel, and we should get to a 5-5 vote, does she get the vote? Since she sits on their board?
What would the 5-5 vote be on?
If we happen to have a 5-5 vote on the amendment, perhaps. Any 5-5 dealing with this situation,
That
would
involves
she be able to vote?
SSGA?
Yes.
That would be up to her, but if there appears to be a conflict of interest, if there appears to be,
Order in the chambers.
since she doesn't have a direct financial conflict of interest, there's not a statutory conflict of interest. However, if there's an appearance of a conflict of interest, she may recuse herself from the vote.
Thank you.
Anything else, Alderman Williams?
I got a few things, Mayor.
Sure, go ahead.
The second thing is, we dealt with this as an old business. So, again, corporate counsel, so if I don't like something that we passed 10-0, I can bring it back under old business?
You would bring it back under a motion to amend something previously adopted, which is Rule 35 of Robert's Rules. It has to be placed on the agenda because under the Open Meetings Act, there can't be final action taken on anything not on the agenda. So that's why it appears on, the Open Meetings Act requires it to be on the agenda. The motion to amend something previously considered is available by any person on any vote. However, it can only be taken if if whatever was passed in the ordinance has not been carried out yet. So if you vote to approve a purchase of a squad car, at the next city council meeting or purchase 3 squad cars, and you instead change your mind and only want to purchase 2. At the next city council meeting, you can move to amend the ordinance that had been previously adopted under that rule to change that from purchasing 3 to purchasing 2. However, if the city's already gone out under the ordinance and purchased 3, that motion would not be in order. So yes, at any time you can bring that particular motion that was used today, and it needs to be on the agenda in order for any final action to be taken.
So the timeline is the next city council?
Well, for a motion to amend something previously adopted, it does not need to be at the next city council meeting, but you're limited because the city will be taking action based on the prior ordinance that was passed. So you can bring it up at any time, but if the city's already acted, then then the motion wouldn't be able to be carried out.
Can you explain the reconsideration process?
So a motion to
Because I'm getting a little confused here. So the motion to reconsider, it has a timeline attached to it.
Yeah, that should be taken at the same meeting or under certain bodies at the next meeting, but it has to be taken by it can only be moved. There are 7 restrictions, but it can only be moved by somebody who voted in favor of it when it passed. It really, for this body, for this city council, it should be made at the same meeting where the first vote was taken.
Okay, well, yeah, so we approved this on April the 15th, and so we would have passed that time for reconsideration.
For reconsideration, that's correct.
So we put a lot of thought in this to throw it on old business. It just seems so underhanded to me, because first of all, how did we find out we needed to amend something? Ralph, who called you?
I called them.
And what'd you say?
I
lost tonight, so let's.
Can we hear you? Can you speak into your microphone, please?
I notified, I guess it was the mayor, that I was looking to do either a reconsideration and.
There's your conflict, but go ahead.
So,
So I put him in touch with Corporation Counsel, which all of you, Alderwoman Purchase called Corporation Counsel over the weekend. You all talked to him, so.
No, I'm just trying to.
I just want to point out.
Operate.
I just want to point out what my concern was. My concern is that the Growth Alliance walks away from the city of Springfield, and then we have nobody. We do not have that extra expertise to help market the city of Springfield. Therefore, I went this direction, and here we are.
Isn't that crazy?
But here's a question I have.
No. You wait till you
we're
recognize.
discussing an ordinance that I'm not acting.
But he's not answering the question right now.
I'm not acting on this. How are we discussing?
So Alderman Williams, could you direct the rest of your questions to the chairwoman, please?
Yes, I will.
Thank you, sir.
So I'm trying to expose how you guys operate.
Order in the council chambers.
Because I think it's unfair for us to pass a 10-0, and just because powers to be, whoever they may be, Ralph's friends decide they don't like it, or Ralph himself don't like it. So all of a sudden we can figure out misdates of reconsideration and come up with an old business. So me and Sean can just see something that we passed and just bring it up the next time just because we want to and say, well, we didn't like how it came out, so now I'm challenging it and bringing an amendment to it, and we already passed it. I'm trying to figure out what are we really doing here. We should not have to deal with this tonight. We passed it 10-0, and it should have been done with until he came back. He knew when his board meeting was. So what was y'all trying to do in between?
So we are at that space where it's past 10:00 and it's going to go to them. So we are where you're talking
Yeah,
about, sir.
but we did this tonight. We tried to sneak this in before they even, hear me? Before they even, I guess, found out what we did at their board meeting. We tried to sneak this in. And then we get here and he reads a statement from them. He could have did that without an ordinance, without an amendment, since now we're doing it anyway, waiting for them to come back. I have a problem with waiting on somebody that wants money from us. It's our money. We should not do, yeah, and I think the conflict comes in because the mayor's on the board. And so they think they can act and behave that, all mayors, not just you, okay? Well, the mayor maybe not should be on that kind of board, or up front say, I'm recused from any kind of voting on this. Because this is why they're so comfortable with, oh, y'all
I did not
passed
take a
it.
vote on
10
it, sir.
aldermen representing 10 wards in this city. And they have that kind of arrogancy. That's arrogant.
Sir,
When they say,
past-
we'll get back with you on what we think about it. And they use their friends to do little bitty trickery in between, knowing that we're going to be waiting. I've been waiting for him to come back because he said he was going to go give it to him and come back. But I never knew we'd be dealing with an ordinance and get it on the agenda some kind of slick way. Because now the door's open that if you don't like an ordinance, just come back under new business and amend it. That's what it sounds like I'm hearing. Am I hearing wrong?
No, this procedure's in Robert's rules. We've adopted Robert's rules. It's been open and available.
We shouldn't be doing this, and we should quit playing these games. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Alderman Rockford?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So my question is, the Growth Alliance comes over in, once a year. We okay $250,000. I've heard numerous alderwomen and aldermen ask, quarterly reports. So who oversees, who's the watchdog of this group from the city of Springfield? And my question is the Office of Planning and Economic, Development, if we're gonna give them $75,000, why don't we keep that and hire somebody within the city to oversee the east side development?
Yeah, you got it.
Instead of giving money to them, we don't know what they're doing. Now, I'm against giving them any more money. They got enough people they can bring minorities on to their group and let them work on the east side and explore the development over there. But to give them $75,000 without knowing what they're doing with it, why would we do that?
That's crazy.
So I'm just asking, Amy, do you oversee that? Or, I'm sorry, Mayor.
It's okay, you can
your
talk to
question
me.
to you.
Yeah. So Amy's office has a standing meeting with SSGA every month to make sure that everybody's on the same page of what's going on. But I can say that the communication is far more often than that because there's a lot of projects that are proposed or someone might be interested in ground, and so they work together on those things. So that would be a common conversation. So we could also just prepare, if there is a contract with SSGA, a monthly report to go to council from her office as well.
Well, and again, if we have our older people that in these wards and have questions, we should be able to reach out to somebody with our concerns. But I had no idea who from the city they report to, because we haven't heard from them. But again, if we're going to give them $75,000 and they can give us lip service and say, yeah, we're going to go out and we're going to recruit some minority leaders, some minority group to go over to the east side or west side or wherever and explore, and promote these areas of town. We don't know they're going to do that. Right. We don't know they're going to do that. Right. So, I mean, before we start handing money out, why don't we get a person in your office to basically work on that? We got a city planner, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderwoman Notriano?
Thank you, Chair. Alderman Rockford, to Alderman Rockford's question, the thinking behind giving the Growth Alliance more money is that what we need is for them to take their expertise, their connections, all of the stuff that makes the SSGA worth paying $25,000 a year to be a member of. That's what businesses pay. We want all of that to go to businesses on the east side that are owned by minorities or otherwise undercapitalized that can't afford that $25,000 membership fee. So they can get the expertise that basically the city should be. Well, the 10 of us said that the city should be pushing for our money to be spent on things that benefit the whole city, but especially we want to make sure it's benefiting minority-owned businesses and undercapitalized businesses.
But my question is maybe I want something out north. Maybe I want something out north. So we're saying $75,000 for minority. I got minorities in the north end of town.
You in there?
Yeah, you in
So-
there. You in
Yeah.
there.
So what I'm,
It's really not even.
I want the city to prosper, just
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
one neck of the woods. I want everybody. If it's good for the city, we all prosper. If it's bad,
Yeah.
we all suffer.
100%.
Yeah.
No, it's not happening. But why are we giving them more money if it's not working? We got to make a change. We
Alderman
got to make
Rockford, can you let Alderwoman
Oh,
Triano have
yeah,
the
she asked
floor?
me a question, so.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Welcome, Alderwoman.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I think the intention of those of us who were working on the amendment was that it's any minority-owned business in the city that needs help and any undercapitalized business in the city that needs the help. But, I mean, we all know that we know the parts of the city that are least undercapitalized or most undercapitalized. And so, of course, it's going to look like we're doing something to benefit the east side because it would, like, all things being equal, giving them a little advantage would help them a lot because they're so far under.
No doubt. And
Yeah.
I'm not, my intention wasn't that
Okay.
at all. My intention is, we're relying on a group of people to explore opportunities throughout the whole city. Now, we're gonna say, here's $75,000 more dollars. Now, we really want you to work on the east side. And they're like, okay, you give me that money. And I don't know what they're doing. And I'm not putting a bad rap on them. I'm just saying, we're giving them money. We're not getting the bang for the buck now, is what we're saying. So why are we
Well,
giving
we
them more?
don't know that because
I
we
don't know.
hear.
I don't know.
Order in the chambers.
We don't hear reports from them what they're doing for us.
Thank you. You're answering my questions. Thank you.
So, I mean, we do hear once a year, but,
Any other?
yes, I do have some other things. I would just like to point out the hypocrisy of that letter that Alderman Hanauer read. I'm glad that I didn't see it beforehand because there were a lot of eyebrow-raising comments in there that I would have liked to address item by item. But the thing that stands out the most to me is that they're saying they're not going to negotiate with us when we did this in, according to the Open Meetings Act, out in front of everyone, and it was on the agenda. And so for them to not come and talk to us about it, not reject us outright, not say anything to the rest of the council, I mean, I don't know. I can only speak for myself. I didn't hear anything
Order in the chambers.
from the Growth Alliance as to what their objections were. We were just out here assuming what the problem was when we heard that this would come to unfinished business. So yeah, I really think they're trying to use their position to strong arm us. And so we should keep that in mind as we continue these negotiations. If the amendment isn't signed by either party, they're not getting $250,000. And that's what we need to focus on. And I know Alderman Hanauer thinks it's going to be a big loss to the city. if they decide to walk away from us. But I would like to see, the impact of them walking away from us. It definitely wouldn't be a good PR move for them, let's say that. So yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman Purchase, it's your floor.
So I want to be real clear on what I just asked for in my amendment, since we're talking about just shoving $75,000 to them. Ralph, could you please read that one paragraph where they said that they will not allow us to tell them what to do with that additional funds? Because I think we all need to hear that again so we can know why I said what I said. They said that they will not accept us telling them.
It says that not accept unilateral contract amendments presented.
And unilateral, whatever you just said, being presented would be me earmarking the $75,000 to specifically look at the east side. So when we talking about, oh, just get them $75,000, it's being focused in a certain area. As Jennifer just said, we worked really hard, and as the mayor just said, me and Sean called Corporation Counsel Murdoch to talk about this and make sure we had got it on the agenda for tonight. We don't want to be just on the menu. We want to have a seat at the table.
Well, my suggestion would be to contact Ryan.
And I respected my colleague, Sean, who has spoke with him multiple times, and that's why we were all working together. But I just wanted to be real clear. I'm not just saying, oh, let's just give them $75,000, because if we really want to talk about it, I think you guys get tired of me asking every department for an update instead of just at budget time. I say it's a lot for us to process and digest. Could you please bring us forward what the future forecast is looking like for development that is going on throughout the entire city, so we can all know? Majority of the times, let's keep it real, majority of the times we work with whoever ward something is in. So we all talking to each other about things. We haven't really had an update on what's the project in your ward?
The sports complex?
There you go. So they've been working, you would say that your older person is the person talking to them majority of the time, but it's not coming to the whole entire council. So,
Don't talk to me about that.
well, and this is why I said to Ryan, and I felt like I said it expressing, Ryan, I've been asking you for 2 years, could you come and bring us updates? Can you tell us what's going on throughout the year and not just give us a report right before it's time to get the $250,000 passed? So I just, my feathers just got ruffled listening to some of the $75,000, but it was clearly to support the East Side projects that have been sitting on the shelf that nobody magically knew about for years. I think this came out when Alderwoman Gail Simpson was in. Was that what you all said, Sean and Roy, when we passed it? So what year was that?
Like 2012 or something.
2012. I graduated from high school in 2011. I mean, college in 2011.
You don't want to say that.
So that's how long it's been. That's how long it's been since somebody has even seen that. And so I understood that and just was trying to find a common place to say. Sean just pointed it out. He said, if we create something on our own, we don't have the expertise. The power is right there within the Growth Alliance. What is it, Frito-Lay that's coming here? Amazon? Do we need to keep naming? Like, we're seeing growth happening, but it doesn't feel like it may be in this area. I know that they have something going on with the Pillsbury, but Roy and Sean, do you guys know what that project may be?
No, they won't tell.
So I think that's where it's a little bit of concern, and I was trying to find a common ground, but I just wanted to be clear. I'm not just saying throw $75,000 to them, because I asked every year for reports, and I said this may be an area where we can still have them work at it. If it was that easy, OPID would have been looked at the reports that's been sitting in their office, or the plans that's been sitting in their office all them years.
So, Alderwoman, I did commit to Alderman Rockford that we will work with Director Raising and give you a report every month.
Thank you.
To the alderpersons. We'll send it to Tim Griffin.
Thank you.
Alderman Rockford, I'm just going to go back since you're at the top. Did you have other comments before I move on?
I'll get out of that.
Okay, that's okay. Alderman Carlson.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, again, the big picture of the whole thing is this is why it's so difficult to deal with the city of Springfield. We all, just because we're elected alder people up here, doesn't mean we have to micromanage every contract that is negotiated with the city. And we heard Ryan McCready a couple weeks ago say he is going to have to take it back to his board. And obviously, he took it back to his board, and this is what we heard. We asked for consideration that night. We asked for consideration that night to hold it to work out some of these details that we're talking about tonight. But no, the sponsors refused to hold it that night, you know, for whatever reason. That's unfortunate. You know, back to the reconsideration of the vote. I mean, technically, we've all know Robert's Rules of Order. I mean, reconsideration of the vote is done all the time in public bodies. You have to do it the next meeting of the full council. This was the next meeting of the full council. That's when we did it. And then the other thing that sort of irritates me, the whole thing, is the whole idea of a floor amendment versus a regular amendment. The amendment, you know, Alderman Gregory amendment was dropped at us at 5:30. You know, that was not a floor amendment. That was, I think, it was in 2 or 3 pages. Fine amendment, substantive amendment, not a true floor amendment. Again, that's why we tried to ask to hold it. I think the mayor tried to ask. I think Alderwoman Purchase tried to ask it, so we can, again, not negotiate in public with the Growth Alliance, to do some of the stuff behind the scenes to get some of these amendments. Can we get some order, Mayor?
In the council chambers, or you'll ask to be removed.
That's the whole thing. I think the Growth Alliance just wanted some consideration to iron some of these details out after the amendment was presented. And, you know, I apologize to them. You know, it's just unfortunate. Again, the only people that are hurt are really the citizens of Springfield. We have to remember a couple of the big projects. I think they're remembered. You know, the Shields project that they brought is in your ward. The Amazon project is your ward. They are working on big projects for the entire city. The entire city. I think we can't lose fact of that.
Order.
And to me, the best thing we can do is just get out of the way and not get in the way of what professionals on the board are paid to do. It's not our job. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Williams?
Yeah, well, I thank him for his attitude. That's a Sangamon County attitude. You know, he comes from the Sangamon County Board, and that's how they operate. And he feels like citizens should know, only certain people should know. But what we've been fighting for is to open this thing up. And yes, we do it in public. That's the best way to do it. So we're not hiding nothing. Then we're not hiding them. But if we let you and your buddies just do it behind the scenes and leave them alone, let them come back, of course the money will just keep running. To the board that you serve on, they've been around a long time. I mean, when I came in 19, we gave them their money. 20, we gave them their money, 20. So I got tired of it. You got to go back and look at how this started. Me asking him. Sean's piece was all about saying we're going to force them to focus on the east side and quit doing their normal thing, get the money, and then a whole nother year goes by and nothing happens. So that's why it is. It ain't that we ain't trying to get along. We're trying to find a way to get them to finally get some energy about doing something over there. And yes, if they don't like it, don't ask for the money. They'll suffer too, maybe. It ain't a one-way street. If you guys are comfortable and want to wait on them, y'all wait on them. We took the action. It stands until they come back to us, and we'll listen, and then we'll decide. But when you do the underhanded stuff with this amendment and those kind of things, no. We're just not going to go for it. With a mayor sitting on the board, and I don't know if she's going to get to break the tie, I have to know and have to find out. I have to put that out so everybody in Springfield hears. The mayor gets to decide. This is what her corporate counsel is telling me. Gets to decide if she recuses herself, if she breaks the tie, whatever. It's on something for me is obvious. You're on the board. The money's coming to that board, and you're our mayor and their board member. Conflict of interest. But it's up to her. That's what you say. That's what we got to live with. But I do things publicly because I'm tired of the hiding, of the uninvited meetings that happen. Ralph finding out something and deciding to do an amendment. The whole council should have been communicated with if that's the case. And if he wasn't ready, it should have never came up. These are these little slick things again. So I think we should end this and just say, we'll wait on them. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Gregory?
I ain't gonna wait too long, but I'll say this. It sounds like Alderman Carlson would be in agreement, you know, because I gotta be honest with you. Even if they do something, it'll be grudgingly. I don't want nobody doing nothing just because, you know, they don't want to do it. I want to work with the willing. So, you know what, Jen, I'm with you 100%. We need that expertise. But there's a part of me that says, forget them. Forget it. Give me a $250,000 ordinance, and I'm gonna send you some players' names and groups' names from the east side, from the center of town, that will work on what it is that we want to do. I'll send that to you, cause I don't want to beg them. I mean, they don't want to do it, so it just feels like, oh yeah, they might come in and say, yeah, we'll do it, but in the end, they just don't want to do it. So it's cool, man. Like, do your thing. Concentrate everywhere else you want to. We talk about the sports complex. They were just formed. They ain't help with the sports complex. They ain't do anything. What they did is make the deal sweeter for them. They could have been started. They didn't start. But they still haven't given us our community engagement piece. They still ain't came back and told us, you know, we're going to hire kids, youth, nothing. They're banking on, oh, we're letting the school district play out there. They got 3 brand new high schools. That's the craziest thing ever. But whatever. Maybe the middle schools, some of them will get out there and use it and stuff. But they still haven't given us that. That's a part of the contract. They got nothing. Nothing. But they still moving along. Very little minorities on the project. But we care. Well, you know, Growth Line's doing a great job. They taking credit for it. They ain't done nothing for that project. Project's been done. Cab 92 ain't been done. We took the trip when I first came in. Like, so I you know, I'm gonna go back to my community. I'm gonna talk to some people, but we just need to do it ourselves. Cause I can sit here on the floor and just be like, Mark, let's do this, development for our side. Low-hanging fruit, simple Simon stuff. And it's not happening. And it's frustrating. I've talked about this before. We paying a bunch of people a bunch of money. But it's not trickling over. You know, he spoke on jobs. It's about jobs. 30% in the last 2 to 5 years has went down for some people. And others, it's still the same, y'all. So that's, you know, it has to be a blitz. It has to be a priority. We got to do it, or we're gonna slip into one of these big city situations. I'm tired of being first and second with the largest disparities between us in the country. That hurts. It hurts every time somebody asks me that. How do I feel about it? Because I know there's a lot of people working hard. And I know we can do better from a city perspective to provide what we want. We got a lot of resources over there. We got to get it in the hands of the people. We made some good moves, no doubt. I would never cancel anybody's work. But these little situations right here, again, we're probably at an hour conversation. And somebody said, well, y'all talking. You brought it. You know it's going to bring a conversation, you know? So it is what it is. I appreciate you, but, you know, I'll give you a call or an email, Murdoch, and we just, you know, the ordinance passed as is. You know, it's a month out. They got about 5 months to bring a report in my eyes. But, you know, they don't want to do it. We're going to go to the table. We're going to figure something out for our communities and just move forward and be done with them. I mean, it is what it is. Thank you.
Alderman Williams?
Yes, are we moving on to other order of business? I'm hoping.
That would be my next thing if everyone was done with the subject, sir.
Yeah, so I want to talk about Pillsbury. So I've been trying to find out, and Mayor, you might know this answer. I asked him, and he wouldn't share. So do you know who the developer, corporate counsel that's interested in Pillsbury?
I have not been approached by any developer interested in
Yeah,
Pillsbury.
do you know any names of who is interested in Pillsbury that he talked about doing that non-disclosure act with?
No.
I believe if you signed an NDA, he can't tell us.
What about you?
Which is common. OPED gets NDAs
I
as well.
understand. I know what
Yeah,
an
it's very
NDA
common.
is. I know it's common, but I'm asking you, do you know who the
I
developer?
do not know the name of the developer, no. I know what type of development they're looking for, but I'm not part of the NDA. so.
Are you willing to say what type?
I think they
Oh,
were looking for all types of light industrial jobs, things like that. So I'm not part of the NDA. They were working with the Growth Alliance. It's
I
not me,
understand.
sir.
I'm just trying to hold them true to the people, because the group is supposed to be having a meeting with the people that surround Pillsbury, that live there, that got to look at it every day and get their input on what they want to see there and what's going on, and this needs to match. And then you hear rumors through radio shows and other type of things that there's developers that are interested. So, and if you don't catch it and get involved and start right now, by the time it gets to the citizen, they're telling us what's going to go there without us being at the table and being a part of the process of knowing. So that's why I'm trying to find out where's that earliest point that I can get the whole Pillsbury Neighborhood Association and anybody else that lives over there involved with this to help decide what's going to go there and what's going to be there.
Alderman, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
So the project is actually owned by Moving Pillsbury Forward. So I would advise anyone to talk to the owner of the property, because the owner is the one that's going to decide if something sells and what it sells to or not.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other additional unfinished business to come before the council? Any new business to come before the council? Alderwoman Notriano.
Thank you, Mayor. A lot of you may have heard that Springfield, or our airport at least, is getting a visit from our lawless Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, who is currently on a world tour promoting the deportation of legal U.S. residents who just happen to be from South and Central America. Ms. Noem has come here to drum up support for denying people due process and sending them to foreign prison camps that operate outside the bounds of the U.S. Constitution, which all of us swore an oath to protect, ensuring their human rights will be violated and they will never get a hearing. How insulting for her to touch down, disparage Illinois, and come in our community in particular and leave, all without never leaving the airport. I changed planes in Salt Lake City once, but that doesn't make me an expert on what their community should do or how their residents live their lives. She's come here to use us as a prop while intimidating our friends and neighbors. But here's an idea. I'd invite Secretary Noem to cancel her political theater, leave the airport, and actually see the community she's criticizing. Or better yet, she should use her free time to go down and visit the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum, where she will learn about the sacrifices the men, women, and children of this country made to protect due process and guarantee that each and every person on American soil would be protected by the rights afforded to them in the Constitution. It's been a long road to get where we are, and we're not going back. I would like to know. I would like to know, and I certainly hope it's the case, that none of our taxpayer dollars are going to be spent in support of this publicity stunt.
In support of what?
The visit from Kristi Noem.
Well, if she's going into the airport, that's already public dollars, ma'am. The airport's public, so.
No, okay, but the city.
So there would be all kinds of public dollars being spent.
Okay,
When dignitaries come, that's what happens.
okay. All right. Well, our police.
I would have to follow up and get back with you on that.
Okay.
I can let you know.
Because,
I mean, you comment about the airport, I don't.
okay,
just
well,
talked about what you just said, so.
I'm just saying, I want to be perfectly clear Since January 20th, I have not said anything about the lawlessness that is happening across this country, but I've discussed at length with the former or current outgoing chief of police that the Springfield Police Department would not be breaking any Illinois laws and supporting ICE or DHS in their attempts to intimidate legal residents or any other residents who are from Central and South America and who live in Springfield. So I want to be perfectly clear that if that happens, there will be accountability. Each and every one of us stood up in front of the public and swore on a Bible to protect the Constitution. This woman does not care. I don't care who she is. I don't care what the administration has empowered her to do. She's breaking the law. She wants to break Illinois law, and I do not want that in this town. And I know Ward 6 residents don't want this in this town, and I know a lot of people in the audience don't want it either. So, yeah, I really hope that no state or local taxpayer dollars are going to go to this publicity stunt. And that's it. Thank you.
Alderwoman Carter.
I know we're in new business, and I know it's been a pretty contentious night, and we got to hear from a lot of people, but as I look in this audience and as I look at some of my female colleagues, I just want to wish each and every one of you a happy Mother's Day. Thank you. On a lighter note, like, it's a blessing for me to have a mom, my grandma, so I just wanted to make sure that I say Happy Mother's Day to all of you. And then, as you all heard me say last week, so we're coming up to the Fat Ass 5K this weekend on Saturday. Friday night, though, is the pre-party, and all is welcome. Everybody from the public can come downtown, and it's from 5 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. And on Saturday, we will have the actual event, and then there will be a street party following. So I hope to see a lot of you all and my colleagues there, too. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Any other new business? Seeing none, we are going to, you're both done, right? Ward 5 and 6. They're still signed up. I'm just making sure everybody's done before I move. Okay. So seeing none, we will go on to citizens who have signed up in advance to address the council. The first person who signed up to speak is Margaret Franklin. Is Margaret Franklin here? Oh, there you are, sorry.
Hi, good evening. As you guys were just told, my name is Margaret Franklin. I live on 14th Street. Back in September of last year, my husband and I were traveling down Matheny, heading towards 16th Street. There was a car that come flying at us, and I'm not underestimating the truth, okay? When they came down, they hit our car severely. Come to find out, the gentleman driving that vehicle, it was a stolen vehicle. That's the first thing. The second thing is, when Springfield police came on the scene, of course, because they were being chased, I was told by one of the officers, and I've got it on body cam, I've got it on dash cam, that said he was chasing that vehicle. I've gone to IA. IA says, Margaret, there was nothing done wrong. And I'm like, what are you talking about? How could there not be anything done wrong? There was no sirens whatsoever. If that man, that police officer, I'm sorry, would have used his siren to let my husband know that they were coming at us, we may not have been hit like we were. I have called city council, or I've called the attorney for the council, I've talked to him, and I want someone to get all the reports that I have made. I went to talk to a gentleman upstairs in your office, and I don't even remember his name. He has seen the dash cam. I'm not making any threats, Mayor, or anybody else, okay? But if Springfield Police are going to continue to do this pursuing, chasing, whatever word you want to use, then they need to do it the proper way. And the day we got hit was not proper because the man that was driving that vehicle, they had had contact with him at 7 a.m. that morning. He hit us at 10. He had been playing cat and mouse with the police all morning. My husband and I could have been taken out that morning. It was a big old vehicle versus a Kona. Another few minutes, and the officer said, we probably would have went airborne because of the force of that vehicle versus us. So I want to know why Springfield Police is trying to, one more time, push stuff under the carpet, because that's what's being done. And as a citizen of Springfield, I have rights, and I feel like the officers are all sticking together, IA included, which I thought IA was supposed to help us, the citizens of Springfield. They don't. And I've tried getting a hold of the chief of police. That's a joke. You can't. So I would like some answers now.
So the chief of staff, Mike Disco, is in the back. If you'll go see him, the city does have an inspector general who is an uninterested third party who will look into subject matter. I think that's the best space for this because it's not police or internal. So he'll help put that report together for you to get that in.
Okay.
Mike, will you raise your hand, please? If you go see him. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Franklin. Alderwoman
you.
Purchase, you had,
Oh, no.
okay, sorry. I just wanted to make sure you didn't have a comment. Thank you, ma'am. The next person signed up to speak is James Applegate. Is James Applegate here?
Thanks very much for agreeing to speak with me tonight and for the opportunity to speak with you. I'm Dr. Jim Applegate, a resident of Springfield since 2014, living on the southwest side. I should probably note that the current mayor helped me buy my first house in Springfield, so thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm former executive director of the Illinois Board of Higher Education, currently a member of the state coordinating committee for an organization called Third Act, a climate group, and I am the Third Act representative on the Coalition for Springfield's Utility Future, which you have heard from numerous times here at the council. I would just say that Third Act is a rapidly growing organization of more than 70,000 elders. We call ourselves elders, not old people, all over 60, working to ensure a livable climate for our children's future. So I come before you tonight first, because before you, you should have copies of a memo that summarizes what I'm going to say, and then also the names and addresses from petitioners, nearly 500 of them, who want Springfield to move forward with its integrated resource proposal or plan or IRP. And first I want to tell you that we want to thank you for including in this 2025 budget a proposal to exactly do that kind of IRP. And we have let the folks who signed those petitions know that you have done that, and I'm sure, I want you to know that we've contacted them and taken the first step in responding to their concerns, and I'm sure they're grateful for that. However, I share these petitions tonight because these same petitioners, your constituents from across Springfield, as well as Third Act and all the members of the Springfield Coalition, now need you to take the next steps to ensure our city moves quickly to a healthier, safer, and more environmentally responsible future. As we move forward, we urge you to do three things as a mayor and a council. First, ensure robust public engagement in the development of that plan at every step along the way. You should consider engaging experts who can help organize public meetings that produce rich input from your constituents and document that input for use in the development of a plan. Meaningful public engagement does not happen by accident. Second, we urge you to engage independent, and I emphasize independent energy experts to develop Springfield's plan. We needn't reinvent the wheel here. Such independent expert organizations have helped other communities develop the kind of plan we want, a workable plan and a good plan. Because we all know that a bad plan is sometimes worse than no plan at all. And lastly, we urge you, as you enlist the help of these independent experts, to make clear to them that they must consider the most cost-effective and equitable path to make a clean energy transition beyond coal. As you all know, CWLP is a municipally owned utility. As mayor and city council, you have a critical oversight responsibility to make sure that as CWLP and our community move forward with this IRP, as they call it, we do what so many communities have already done. Engage independent experts to create a plan, a process for updating that plan along the way that fully engages your constituents and moves us to a safe climate future. As I noted before, we're not on the cutting edge here. There is much to learn from other communities that are further along than we are. However, by learning from them, listening to independent experts, and to our own people, we can create a plan that makes Springfield a healthier, clean energy community for our children and for our grandchildren. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. The next person signed up to speak would be Tiara Standage.
Hello again. It's Tiara Standage. I'm the Executive Director of Intricate Minds. Harm reduction is the act of reducing the amount of harm that's being inflicted on our underserved and impoverished communities, our Black communities. Harm reduction is putting on a seatbelt when you are driving. It reduces the harm if you were to get into an accident. Harm reduction is having accessible sidewalks so that our kids can go to and from the bus stop safely. Harm reduction is being able to watch grocery stores with fresh produce, after-school programs with activities for our children, affordable daycare centers, and Black-owned businesses grow and flourish in our communities, not just liquor stores and chicken joints. Harm reduction is realizing that before you all pick your brain on what you feel is best for our communities, there are already Black people in those Black communities doing the Black work at their Black jobs. Meet them where they're at. Garvey Tubman, Motherland Gardens, Unveiling Black Springfield, Black Lives Matter, Better Life, Better Living for Kids, Ring of Champions Boxing Club, and many, many other Black businesses are Black community-based organizations already present in our communities, doing the work. Harm reduction is meeting them where they're at. What do they need to succeed? It sounds like the Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance hasn't been to the hood and has no interest in the hood. So why are we so worried about their critique and expertise in our Black communities? The aldermen that they send with their privileged statements won't even sit 5 minutes to listen to a Black person talk about using city money for anything in the Black community. He doesn't say anything until it's time to argue or vote down Black development. But Alderman Gregory did tell us he wasn't racist. We wouldn't need to micromanage anyone's money, especially a growth alliance, if we, the Black community, were seeing growth and allies in our neighborhood. Like Sunshine Clemens stated, give us our water so that we can grow. And by water, we mean money. There are plenty of Black businesses that would love $50,000 to grow our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The next person signed up to speak is Roy Walton.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Roy Walton. My issue this time is lack of diversity within the leadership. This promotes enhanced criminal behaviors, extreme mental health issues, and safety concerns, even with leadership members. One stated her resignation was due to the local judiciary being a politically influenced body that seeks to manage certain offices. and the needs of poor people caught in the legal system are subservient to political consideration. Another leader resigned after being disqualified for not playing ball under similar circumstances, both taking a stand and saying the community and the people in it are more important than the political agenda. I use this analogy as means to address not only the judiciary, but all leadership entities. Being governed by a leadership with this mentality sends the message to the community that poor people and their constitutional rights are reduced to political capital used to curry favor with constituents and serve political ambitions. In layman's terms, slave master mentality, with the leadership saying, man those fields, and the community responding, saying, yes, sir, yes, sir. Community members, we need to take the same stand. Stop approving a leadership that continues to deny us education, financial assistance, equal protection, outlets to issues that they created for us, like the right to be productive citizens, because we don't meet their criteria. Stop being confused and remember, we don't work for them, they work for us. In closing, a message to the leadership. He who is first shall be last, and he who is last shall be first. Community, we are always last. It's our time to be first. Come stand together and be the first to demand what's rightfully ours. Thank you for listening.
The next person signed up to speak is Janisha Thomas. Janisha Thomas here? No? Okay, thank you, sir. The next person signed up to speak is James Johnson. Couldn't see you sitting over there.
Yeah, I was hiding today. I wanna start with, I'm gonna piggyback off of the last meeting. And I noticed there's a lot more people coming and a lot more people speaking their minds. And Mayor, my question is to you, because when I'm at home, I watch this meeting. Why is my name right there for the whole 5 minutes? And why is there a timer running on the TV for the whole 5 minutes while we speak? Because people at home, there's a lot of people who watch these meetings. They don't want to see the timer. They don't want to see my name. They want to hear what I got to say. And some of them want to see, like myself, I want to see who's in the crowd. So I'm asking you, because I don't think that's ever been there before. And there's an old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We always want to change stuff, but we don't need to change anything. Let that be. Now, you guys never cease to amaze me with what goes on here every week. It's just astonishing. I'm going to say this about minority and diversity and all, and you guys know. Let the unions handle laborers and the operators. Let that be. Because we got a CWLP right here at the city, the linemen and all of them. It ain't enough of us on that. So let's start in-house before we start worrying about, what's outside of here. And I'm going to move on because there's some things I was going to touch on, but I'm going to leave it alone. So I want to move to TV 20 now. And I don't know, Mayor, if you got connections, but we have a chief meteorologist in this state for some odd reason who likes to take up the TV time. So if you know this person and if you can call him, can you tell him to stop breaking in our programs for thunderstorm warnings? Can you tell them that we used to this around here? They can put a W or they can scroll across the screen. But we don't need to see them for 4 hours for a tornado warning that's over by Indiana. It is starting to get ridiculous. Now, I come up here and say something about it because I don't know where else to go. I don't want to have to call them.
He's behind you.
Huh?
He's behind you.
Well, I hope he hears me. And maybe he can pass it. But the chief meteorologist is just too much. They're breaking in programs. I can't watch my sports. I can't watch the news. Pretty soon they're going to break into this government channel and tell us about a thunderstorm warning. It's just ridiculous now. And we don't need it. I don't know. But if somebody could say something and tone that down, then I think we could be all right with watching TV again. That's all I'm going to say for right now.
Thank you, sir. Next person signed up to speak is Ronald Ham. Is Ronald Ham here? Oh, Mr. Ham, when you come up, she's having trouble with the computer, so we don't want to, we'll have you start when we're ready, okay, if you don't mind, sir? Thank you, sir. Yep, I told him, he knows. Sorry, it'll just take a minute, or maybe less than a minute, hopefully. Mr.
Brought a
Ham.
prop?
Pardon me, sir?
I brought a prop, if that's okay.
Oh, okay.
Just let me know when you're ready.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Anybody know where Joe Crane is? Can we get him?
Mr. Redpath, Clerk Redpath, would you like a 5-minute recess? Mr. Ham, we'll take a 5-minute recess and then we'll get to you, okay? That way they can work on their equipment. Is that
understand.
okay? Thank you, sir. Some of the council members can use the facilities and that. Thank you, sir. I could get the council members to take their seats. And Mr. Ham, I'm just going to slow walk this so they can get the broadcast back on because they were on pause. Okay, sir?
You're good. I'm the technology coordinator. I know the technology
Okay,
can be
yeah, I
finicky.
want to give them time to get that started, so,
Just let me know when you're ready.
yep. Yep.
Madam Mayor, all systems go.
If someone in the broadcast booth could tell me if we're ready.
Madam Mayor, all systems go.
Broadcasting, could you tell me if we're ready?
Madam Mayor, we are all set. Can you hear this?
Could someone in the broadcast booth let me know that we're live and back on air before the speaker speaks, please?
Madam Mayor, we're all set.
Thank you so much. Okay, the next person signed up to speak then is Ronald Ham. Mr. Ham, it's your floor.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Ronald Ham. Today I am here in my capacity as the unfortunate technology coordinator of the Land of Lincoln branch of the DSA. I initially signed up to talk about the economy, but Alderman Gregory asked people to talk about systemic racism. We like Alderman Gregory, so I chose to oblige that request. Now, I am not well suited to talk about racism for reasons I would hope I don't have to explain, but systems. I can talk about systems. Systems surround us, permeate us. Systems of government, systems of economics, systems of property, systems of rights. Lots of systems. The existence of the city is a kind of system. To simplify it as much as possible, these systems are sets of rules. The boundaries of the city are a set of rules. The rights of people are a set of rules. The price of eggs? A rule. A rule that people agree to, either because they agree with those rules or because their participation in this system is required to do things they want to do. You want to live in Springfield, you gotta live in Springfield. You want eggs, you gotta pay for the eggs. The way most people think about this is that the rules are what they are, and that's fine. That's how most people, including myself, get through life. But the thing is, that's not just how it is. The borders of Springfield didn't just spontaneously arise out of the ether. There is no universal constant that determines the price of eggs. Those are choices that someone made. The borders of Springfield are constantly being litigated. Every other week there is a proposed ordinance buying this parcel of land or selling that parcel of land. Somebody who works at Myers woke up this morning and decided that eggs were $4.50 a dozen. Those decisions may be made for good reasons. I'm certain the city is privileged with information that I am not, but the point remains, it's a choice that was made. So then what do we do when rules hurt people? This is something that happens all the time, as I'm sure the mayor knows, and members of city council are aware. We don't live in a perfect world. Sometimes someone's got to get the short end of the stick. I'm willing to acknowledge that. But, that metaphor only works when you're talking on a person-to-person basis. When you zoom out enough to get a clear picture, you see that 5 people, specifically Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, and Jeff Bezos, are in control of about half the stick. About 3 million people, less than 1 in 100 people, own about 40%. You need to have about $15 million to be part of this club. So this is not us, not exactly. This represents the wealth of every person, functionally, every person in Springfield, Jerome, Chatham, Peoria, St. Louis, Indianapolis, Los Angeles, Houston, Burbank, Honolulu, and Washington, D.C. Which is to say, when you zoom out enough to get a big picture, you see that we're not fighting over a stick. We're fighting over crumbs. If someone, hypothetically, were more mad over folks on the east side being allocated some amount of money than they are that Jeff Bezos makes more money than every person in this city put together, in my humble opinion, that person would not just be ignorant, they would be a moral reprobate. They would be a bad person. And this is something I can quantify. Chairman, I ask rhetorically, if someone were to look you in the eye and tell you earnestly that Elon Musk could not only do the work of every single person in this city, every grocer, every cashier, every secretary, every mechanic, every construction worker, every nurse, every laborer, could do your job, could do the entire city's council's job, and could do it 280 times better, I am certain that we could agree that the person who would say that has so little regard for the value of labor that they could be considered evil. Let me tell you the truth of the thing. We don't need to live with bad rules. We don't need to live with rules that hurt people. We don't need to live with just this. We can make new rules. We can make more equitable, more fair rules. It wouldn't even be hard. We just need to commit to it. If we change our way of thinking, stop asking what's good for me, stop asking what's good for you, and start asking what's good for us, we can change those rules, make better and more equitable systems. We can make the world a better place. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next person signed up to speak is Veronica Glass. Is Veronica Glass here? Then the next person signed up to speak is Dr. Lisa Johnson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
On about Thursday or Friday, I cannot remember which, I sent an email to the Chancellor of the University of Illinois in Springfield, informing her that I would be speaking to this horseshoe. Now, my Chancellor knows me very well. She didn't respond to the email, but she's probably watching right now. Because I've sent her several emails and spoken to her several times about the way that she addresses race at my university. And I've not been afraid to do that. I'm a grown A woman. I'm 59 years old. I'm a never married single mother of a 35-year-old person who is in the system. And I am queer. I went back to college at the age of 37 after having been a contract negotiator at a Fortune 500 corporation, after having been an administrative assistant at an environmental engineering firm, after working at the High Museum of Art in Atlanta, Georgia, after working at a radio station in Athens, Georgia. I have a lot of experience. But even after all of that experience, I went back to school and got a bachelor's degree in sociology, focusing on race and economics, a master's degree in sociology, focusing on race and mental health, and a PhD in sociology, focusing on social psychology, social inequality, and yes, Misty, race. If I say that proceedings are racist, then they are racist. Sean don't have to call y'all racist. Sean ain't supposed to call y'all racist. Because Sean has to deal with y'all from here on out. But I don't have to hear from nan one of y'all from here on out. And when I say that this body has been operating in a very racist manner ever since I started recording data in March of 2024, then I mean it. And I tried to send to everybody around this horseshoe an official definition of what systemic racism was. I did that in November of 2024 after your now current clerk, then former Ward 1 alderman, kept walking out of these proceedings every time somebody called him racist. He went on the radio explaining that he did not have to listen to anybody calling him racist. He's sitting right there now. I hope he's listening to me right now. An expert in racism explain how racism is embedded in systems, so that sometimes people who are racist would argue you down to their last nickel, swearing that they are not. Title of my research project is Unveiling Black Springfield, Exploring Historical actions and present realities. That means I look at what goes on in this city, how it spreads out by race, and what in this city's history affected the current goings-on around this horseshoe, around your school board, around all of the other white flight initiatives in Chatham and Jerome and all of the other places. I am an expert in this, so I do it. Y'all got some racist folks on this council. You have some racist practices taking place in this council. And your citizens have been telling you that for long before I ever got here. So the fact that you need somebody with a PhD who focuses on it to tell you speaks volumes about how you deny the fact that you are running a racist circus. The next person signed up to speak is.
Next person signed up to speak is Terracus Mackey. Terracus Mackey. Last time, Terracus Mackey. Moving on to the next person signed up to speak, Susan Phillips. The next person signed up to speak is Maribel Cruz Hine.
Stuff to pass around for you guys.
Someone from the clerk's office will come get it from you, ma'am.
Man, whew. I don't even know how to follow that, but actually, kind of leads to what I'm gonna talk about. All right, well, I would like to start with a moment of silence, as usual, for Pope Francis, Fatima Hosanna, a 6-year-old Palestinian-American boy, Wadi Al-Fayami, murdered as a victim of hate crime for his Palestinian Muslim identity in the state of Illinois, and all the lives lost in the constant bombardments of Yemen, Lebanon, Syria, and Palestine. It's not okay that my neighbors are struggling just to live. 20 years of difference in life disparities. I would think after learning that or hearing that, to restore faith in humanity by giving justice to those neighborhoods, I mean, that will be the common thing, right? Mayor, you are to represent all wards, all peoples, our city. The study showed us where the city needs your support, investing in. To govern should not be be treated as a business, but as a mutual aid of resources so all walks of life may thrive. I'm not a religious person, but I have faith in the common good of the people. I heard this quote. Elizabeth Petrovich said, "Asking you to give me equal rights implies that they are yours to give. Instead, I must demand that you stop trying to deny me the rights that all people deserve." They say there's a crisis in the budget, all of these excuses. I almost feel like there's always none. There is always a crisis in our morals. There's always a crisis in our values. There's a crisis on humanity's empathy. We already know where the disparities are. 20 years. 20 years. I would think you would look at the map and start investing in that. I thought we would work on empathy. That's why I brought this. Maybe, I don't know, a visual aid will help you guys to understand the reality that is now. One gets more than is needed, while the other gets less than is needed. Such a huge disparity is created. Equality is the assumption is that everyone benefits from the same supports. This is considered to be equal treatment. Equity, everyone gets the support they need, which produces equity. And justice is all can see this game without supports or accommodations become the cause of the inequity that was addressed in the systemic barrier that was being removed. I show this picture because it's like, this is what I'm showing my kid. You know, this is like for him to understand the reality, like, of what's happening. Another one that I saw is understanding inclusion. You know, I feel like a lot of us, like, I go through trainings every month or every 6 months about, you know, equality and inclusion. I think a lot of you guys need that. Like, I don't know, maybe go to the anti-racism training that they're hosting over here. I think everyone should be, I mean, all of you guys should be part of that, you know, like get invested in your community. I'm going to go through this, understanding inclusion. Maybe that something will stick, you know. Equality is that everyone gets the same book. Diversity is that everyone gets a different types of book. Equity is that everyone gets the book that is right for them. Acceptance is the understanding that everyone reads different types of books. Belonging is reading that you could read any book without being judged. And justice is fighting so everybody gets access to books. So this is what I was saying, this is what we're saying, like when we come here, we want all have to have access to that, to those resources, you know? Like some neighborhoods get more resources. My neighborhood gets more resources than their neighborhoods. It's not equitable. We need to find the equality, the equity, the justice. And with that, you know, I want you guys to ask every day, am I fighting for privilege or am I fighting for justice? Every day, wake up, am I fighting for privilege or am I fighting for justice? I wish you all so much love, freedom, and liberation.
Thank you, ma'am. The next person signed up to speak is Sharina Douglas. Sharina Douglas. The next person signed up to speak is Jordan Shaw. Jordan Shaw.
Good evening. I may not be as eloquent as Dr. Lisa, but I will do my best. So, my name is Jordan Shaw, and I'm here to talk about my experience as a volunteer at Intricate Minds and seeing harm reduction firsthand. Now, since September 2024, I've been very thankful to volunteer at Intricate Minds and help out Tiara Standage, the executive director of Intricate Minds. I help with donations as well as make sandwiches for the packed lunches for Packed Lunch Tuesday and also period packs. But my main position is being a pro bono notary public to help people in need who are unable to get a notary stamp on their documents, whether they are unable to afford it or if they just don't have the means to get that stamp. I use the term pro bono since I believe it is for the public good. At this time, I cannot use my certified credentials for profit, as resources are being stripped and withheld for those in need. It would seem cruel to make a profit on a scale that could benefit many. While I've been volunteering for the past about 6-7 months, I have seen participants request items that are marked under the term harm reduction, which has been explained by Tiara, but it's used to decrease negative consequence of recreational drug use and sexual activity without requiring abstinence, recognizing that those unable or unwilling to stop can still make positive change to protect themselves and others. Not only are participants who are asking for these items are given the resources that they need, but they're also shown respect and dignity, which I feel is lacking in other areas of this community. I have seen time and time again people complaining and groaning over things that can be taken care of. I have seen plenty of people, tonight even, who have tried through many resources, who have been calm and patient and understanding, but then keep getting denied just the simple necessity that is to be heard and to have a voice. So, of course, people come up here and are angry. If you keep repeating yourself over and over again, you're going to get mad after a while. Now, I have seen many times just the simplest interaction has been received with such love and thankfulness. I'd given somebody just a pair of mittens and a scarf, and they hugged me because they were so grateful. And I understand that not everyone has the same outlook, and in general, we have grown cynicism as a society. We believe that people will eventually take advantage of the situation, that people will abuse the system and they will just use it over and over and over again. But to give people a choice and to help them without judgment or criticism is vital. And I believe it's necessary if we want to actually help the community at large to give people a chance and to not just assume that everybody who is destined to be bad continue to be bad. We can be realistic and we can also empathize. To write off all people in need simply because some might abuse it is cruel. And I do hope and believe that eventually we can come together and we can make it even just a little bit better. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The next person signed up to speak is Vanessa Knox.
She left.
The next person after that is Lori McKiernan.
Good evening. I have several topics to bring up tonight. Over the past couple of weeks, there have been several discussions and questions about the Municipal and Cooperative Electric Utility Planning and Transparency Act and how those provisions around the IRP process would impact Springfield and CWLP. That bill, the Planning and Transparency Act, has been rolled up along with the Solar Bill of Rights into an omnibus bill called the Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act, referred to as the SURGA Act. This comprehensive bill is being negotiated now with input from CWLP, and if compromises can be made on both sides, this bill will be voted on in this session. This is about local control, meaning city councils with input from the public have the decision-making control over our utilities that was intended by the state and not the utilities having that control. So I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Faith Coalition's Environmental Justice Team, our Coalition for Springfield's Utility Future, along with Prairie Rivers Network and Wind Solar USA, to tell you about our Listen Lead Shared Forum tomorrow night. The forum, titled Local Control of Our Energy Future, Putting the Public Back in Public Power, will specifically address the Solar Bill of Rights and the planning and transparency language that will affect our area and municipal utility. So the forum's tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at the Public Library in the Carnegie North Room at the entrance to the library. You all are invited, the public is invited, and other local leaders will be invited. So that's tomorrow night, 6 to 7:30 at the Public Library, and I hope everybody attends. On a personal note, I want to thank the alders who spoke out last week about the CWLP ordinances. That was the CCB transporting and the solar ordinances. It's healthy to have debate on these large ticket environmental ordinances. And it's not only healthy, it's necessary. That's what this SURGA Act is about, ensuring that the public in all cities in Illinois with municipal and cooperative utilities has the opportunity to participate in the discussion about our energy future in a consistent manner. Questioning our leaders is a positive thing, and our elected and paid leaders here in Springfield should not be offended when they're questioned. So I also want to remind everyone about the Connect Sangamon County open house on Thursday night. So this is they will present their proposed active transportation plan from the Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning Commission. This is the public's last opportunity to comment on this plan. You can talk about walkability in Springfield, better transportation. So that's Thursday night, the old SJR building from 4 to 6 p.m. I also want to make a comment on the Kristi Noem visit tomorrow. Thank you for bringing that up. I had two questions. One was how much the city of Springfield is paying for security or other parts of this visit. And I'd also like to know if Mayor Busher or anyone else from the city government, whether elected or paid staff, is meeting with Kristi Noem. And since I have some time left, I need to point out the hypocrisy that I heard tonight. So Alderman Carlson expressed concern about the way the amendment for the Growth Alliance was put forward, that it was put forward at the last minute, and when people asked for it to be postponed and debated, that was turned down. If I'm remembering correctly, several months ago, we had an ordinance about to fill the city clerk position. That had an amendment brought up at the last minute. Most of the alders did not know about it, and when several alders begged to have that postponed so a process could be in place, they were denied. So the hypocrisy is some alders can present amendments at the last minute and deny the process, and others can't. So hypocrisy, I have to point that out. Thank you. And don't forget to lock up your dogs tomorrow.
Next person signed up to speak is Robert Frazier. Robert Frazier. Mr. Frazier, are you here?
Oh, Miss Frazier.
Hang on just one second then. Robert's not here. Pamela Frazier is next then. She's next.
Good evening. He is here with us, okay? This situation is deeply disappointing as a small business owner. It is unacceptable to witness our city continue practices that fall short of true inclusion, especially when public funding and economic development are at stake. Real progress requires intentional action to ensure all voices and communities are represented and supported. Recent amendments championed by Alderman Gregory and supported by other alderpersons sought to address the persistent lack of investment and representation in Springfield's underserved areas, particularly on the east side. Despite these efforts, the ongoing debate and proposed rollbacks to these amendments revealed the city's reluctance to fully commit to equitable economic development. As a community, we must recognize that unity and progress will not be handed to us. We must create it ourselves. We need to hold our leaders accountable and insist that public investment, especially in economic development, comes with real, measurable commitments to inclusion, transparency, and support for minority-owned businesses and residents of our most uninvested neighborhoods. To my fellow community members, let's come together. Let's build our own unity and demand the intentional inclusion that our city's future depends on. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person who is to speak is Aaron Bird. Is Aaron Bird here?
I'm gonna see if I have time to say it all. So, I have lived in Springfield for my entire life. I've lived on many parts of town, and I went to school at Isles. One thing that someone always pointed out to me was the area it was in. For the entire time I've lived in Springfield, I have not seen progress or improvement on the east side. See, the biggest issue lies in the fact that we know and we can see that the east side needs help. This is no mystery to anyone. And the more I sit and watch these meetings, there is one theme that I notice coming up consistently. And that is that Alderman Gregory has to fight and put his foot down and call people out when his needs are not being met. The alderperson for the ward in town that needs the most help has to beg for it. Why is that? I constantly see some from the other half of the horseshoe dismissing Gregory and only wanting to argue with him rather than hear his concerns. There is a clear divide in this room, whether you're willing to see it or not, and it is clear as night and day to the rest of us. There is no reason for the east side of town to not be getting support and grow. By disregarding the east side of town, you are showing the citizens of Springfield that you do not care about bettering the city as a whole, but only to improve the wealthy and already thriving sides of the city. Now, we have seen lots of development on the North and South Dirksen Parkway in the recent years, so why are we not seeing the same within the middle of the parkway? There has been nothing added, supported, or improved in the depths of the east side either. The most in-need area of this town is clearly and evidently being neglected because something in that bad of shape should never be left as the last priority. You should know that if you've ever had an infection and waited to seek medical attention until it got worse, you go to the doctor and they ask, why didn't you come in sooner? Well, that's how everyone is feeling. Why has the east side not received help sooner? Don't act like it's a surprise that no one has had those plans for that long. By the way, ma'am, his name is Roy Williams, and he's an alderman. His name is not sir. Thank you for your time.
The next person signed up to speak is Aaron Cahill.
Hey there. So what I was going to speak on has been pretty well spoken to death now. And the amendment that I was going to speak on, I guess, isn't a thing at the moment, which is good. So I want to start off with saying to the alders that stood up for right, good on you. Thank you. Y'all are doing what the people want you to do. That's awesome. To, well, the others, whatever. I've lived here since 2023. I'm fairly new in Springfield. I genuinely didn't know what institutional racism was till I moved up here. Because I moved up here from somewhere where everybody is dirt poor. Nothing gets done in our city. And it just pads the casinos. That's what we were there for. That was our whole life. We didn't have a good side of town, a bad side of town. The people that lived on the good side of town, as it were, didn't live in town. They lived right outside of city limits. And that's where our nice neighborhoods were. So, whether it's white or black, we were all poor. We were all feeling the crunch. The vast majority of the sidewalks, if they weren't in front of a casino, were in disrepair. We had city projects that took years to complete. And not even really complete. They were halfway done. Because if it didn't benefit the casinos, we didn't matter. And I'm seeing a lot of that here. But only on certain sides of town. Which, primarily, people of color. And the thought that 50 grand out of 250 grand going to minority inclusion is the fact that somebody would go out of their way to oppose something that simple blows my freaking mind. You know, that it's something so simple, something so small, something so minute, but to those minority-owned businesses, that's huge. $50K going to a minority-owned business that may or may not have the contracts, may not be able to get the contracts with the city, that's huge. That helps them a lot. You know, it may be time to start looking at some of this stuff. You know? I know some of the alders are looking at this stuff, and they're wondering, what the hell? Where's our money? Where's our repairs? I remember one of my first city council meetings, Mr. Pasha mentioned that there's areas in his neighborhood that ain't even got sidewalks that they can walk on. How much would it take to put a block of sidewalks in at a time? I can't imagine more than 20 or 30,000. I mean, and that's being generous, I would think. I don't think it would take a whole lot, you know? But some of these neighborhoods I drive through, and I'm just like, man, y'all ain't even got a pothole. Whose leg are y'all humping to not have potholes? You know, I drive through other areas of town and I'm like, I can lose a car in this pothole. Why is it not repaired? You know? Something so simple, something so easy to fix. And the city just, what, glosses over it? It's not on a good side of town. We don't care. That's not the answer. You know? That's not the answer at all. We need to start funneling money where it needs to go. Not just to appease the wealthier inhabitants, as it were, but to help the city, help the people that need the help, you know? There's people out there that, to this day, I'm sure, are racking up fines because they're not physically capable of mowing their lawn, and they are not capable of hiring somebody because they don't have the money. So, like, you know, fix it. I've given solutions to at least start helping the unhoused population. You want me to go out and figure out how to fix this issue too? I'll do it.
Thank you, sir. The next person signed up to speak is Brianna Eilers.
I first want to say that I am disappointed to see that Hanauer skipped out and he has not come back. All right, so good evening. While many of the speakers have been educating on systematic racism, I would like to shift my focus on the history that helped create those systems. Growing up, my grandparents had a huge role in raising me. My mom worked overnights as a nurse while also attending school. She didn't have much time for me at this specific stage in my life, but the time she did make with me was worth something. That said, my great-grandfather was drafted into World War II, and one of my favorite things to do as a middle schooler was go through his photo albums. He didn't tell me many stories, but the ones he would tell me were spellbinding and fascinated me. Because of him, I developed a love for World War II. I was fascinated by the destruction and death that humans were willing to inflict on each other. For what? Land? Money? Power? Why? During World War II, there were three main dictators: Hitler over Germany, Mussolini over Italy, and Stalin over the Soviet Union. Let's do a check-in on where those countries are today after committing the ethnic genocide of 6 million Jewish humans, 3 million Soviet prisoners of war, 2 million Polish humans, and over 600,000 other minority groups. Germany is currently in political turmoil. The far right, named the AfD, has been launching a noticeable assault on the very foundation of the German Constitution. The German Constitution collapsed after the French government in 2024, and they haven't recovered stability since. Almost 50% of the German people are now pushing to outlaw the AfD party's involvement in Germany completely. The Soviet Union fell in 1991, and today most Americans equate the USSR to Russia. Boris Yeltsin resigned in 1999, and the infamous Putin was inaugurated in 2000. When Putin came into power, the Russian focus was once again centered on land expansion, and this can be seen happening to this day by the war in Ukraine. According to the Freedom House, Russia is a consolidated authoritarian regime. This means that the political entities, cops, judges, and the media are all loyal to Putin's party, and the citizens' thoughts, feelings, and opinions do not matter. The last country to check in on is Italy. Giorgia Meloni has been the Prime Minister of Italy since 2022. The Italian dictator Benito Mussolini's granddaughter stopped working for Giorgia Meloni at the end of September 2024, stating that the Brothers of Italy party was becoming too right-wing under Meloni. To repeat, Mussolini's granddaughter is stating that the current Italian party has radicalized too far right from her dictator grandfather's vision. Now that we've got world history out of the way, let's circle back. My maternal grandfather was hit and killed by a drunk driver outside of a Davlin-owned Chantilly lace. This threw my grandmother into a depression, and I'll be honest, I didn't see her that much. My grandpa's death was quickly followed by my own dad's death, and because of that, my mom had to rely on my grandparents heavily in order to finish school. That meant I would regularly stay at my paternal grandma and grandpa Sapetti's house. I loved it there and was very privileged to be able to experience the childhood that I had. It was normal for me to run out back barefoot, yell at the cat Ace to come and play with me, eat some veggies that I just picked from the garden, and then jump in the pool just in time to smell my grandfather's cigar. As Sean knows, I love the smell of cigars. My Uncle Jimmy, Aunt Joella, Kraus, and Cousin Ryan would always come to play dates and to dive for things in the pool. It was one of the most comfortable times in my life, but my grandpa died and I became pregnant at 16. This side of the family disowned me because I was pregnant at 16. I've experienced a childhood that my children were never able to. It's an experience that I've learned that doesn't exist for Black and brown families. I am privileged, and yet my children do not know what it is like to have a backyard big enough for a garden. I am privileged, and yet my children do not know what new clothes feel like. I am privileged, and yet my children will never know what it feels like to jump in a Jeep with the top down to go to the next town over for Bing cherries and ice cream. Instead, my children understand the hardship of walking to our nearest micro pantry just to find out that it's empty. Even with all of that said, today I stand before you as a very privileged white woman. I am not a 9-month-old without a father, and I am not a 15-year-old who's just been told that my mother is the reason why my father got killed. I am a 32-year-old woman with underserved and yet still privileged children, and I am angry. Because what do you mean this has been going on for decades, and the people who have been sitting on this horseshoe for all these years haven't done anything? I am simply communicating my feelings when I say I am getting increasingly spiteful.
Thank you, ma'am.
We want 50K to be used towards
Thank you, ma'am.
on our Black and brown brothers, sisters, and aunties, as well as Indigenous
The next
Peoples
person
Day.
signed up to speak is Ken Pesha.
Why does this council have a problem with money going into black hands? $30,000. How long did it take? It was reimbursable. It's embarrassing. $50K. We got to listen to a group of people send their water boy a letter. And where's he at? He collecting more water for him right now? He a little busy? Is Cox helping him? Are they too busy to be at our city council? How disrespectful is that? Cox has done it ever since me and him had a bad interaction. If you guys remember when he ran committee of whole, I'm pretty sure I hurt his feelings. I've seen him in my People You May Know after the post I made about him, and I see that a lot. Because I'll say quite frequently the kind of criticisms I level do hold weight. I know Hanauer's already termed out, so he's not worried about getting voted out. But Cox, I thought he had a future here. It seems confusing to me because the kind of white supremacist behavior we see on this council, like individualism, oh, that's not my ward. Well, Sean needs to keep an eye on his ward. I mean, it's $50K for his ward. I mean, what about my ward? That sounds ridiculous. Objectivity. Look, I'm not being particular here. I'm just saying we should really analyze why we want to give these black sides of town that money. I don't have any big deals about $600K for rundown apartment buildings, but I got endless hours to break out my abacus, chips, sundials, letters from strangers to tell me that we need to hold off just a little longer. My patience is worn thin. And I'll tell you what's wearing thin is everyone else's patience, because I know I'm an angry guy. I'm like the Hulk. I'm always angry. That's my secret, because I've spent my whole life saying things like this to people. And it is infuriating to watch the subtleties of white supremacy play out, because I'm not going to talk to the people over there. I think the important thing is that we talk to the people that are frequently the people that oppose these actions for whatever reason you can manufacture that doesn't just come down to the fact that it's always that side of town. You start breaking out the calculator. You don't have to tell me, just like Dr. Lisa, I've been sussing out white racists my whole life because I didn't wake up and start hanging out with white people. I've grown up around them in this town and other places, and guess what? You guys all look the same, man. You all say the same things. You all have the same subtle objections, because if they didn't have them, guys, why are we having this discussion? Why would they feel comfortable sending a letter to Hanauer? Ask yourself that. Huh? Why wouldn't they talk to Misty? And that's not a personal attack. You're at least on their board. Hanauer doesn't work for them. Why is he their water boy? Because he knows he's termed out, and he knows what his real problem is with that $50K. He just can't stand to see it get in a black man's hands. Because I'll tell you, if he didn't have that problem, he wouldn't have dog walked Better Life, Better Living for Kids for an endless amount of time for a pittance. $30K isn't even what it costs to talk SSGA into bringing 3 major franchises to your district. That's ridiculous. You telling me they didn't fit anywhere on the South Grand Corridor? Cook, Clear Lake, Stevenson? Is that a joke? The level of distaste that seems to flow for this side of town and this area of town is visible. I will never forget when one of my white friends who grew up on English over by Springfield High, he gave me a ride over to my side of town. He goes, time to head over to the ghetto. And I looked him dead in the eye, and I'm like, what right do you have to say that to me? And he goes, look at your side of town. Just take a look at it. I was 16. I'm 43 now. And you're hearing these same concerns. If you don't think you're racist, that's fine. I don't think you go out and hate black people or tell them that they're subservient to you or anything, but your decisions, your choices, the way you handle things is white supremacy upheld systemically, institutionally, and right in front of us. And it plays out for 9 months now, and you guys act like I'm just up here making this up. Like I want to come up here and be upset with you like it's personal. I don't know you. I know your actions, and I know what those actions mean when I see them happen, because they play out every year on my side of town to the tune of a 20-year less life expectancy. I'm not making it up, and you can't argue that. You can't just say those are bad choices or bad ideas or bad neighborhoods. That is systemic, and it's intentional.
Thank you, sir. Next person signed up to speak is Zachary Long. Zachary Long?
Zach Long.
Okay. The next person signed up to speak is Donald Hanrahan.
Good evening. I'm not here to talk about CWLP. I came here to talk about preserving the reservation of $50,000 for East Side businesses, jobs, and redevelopment in the Growth Alliance Supplemental Fund. I cannot get my head around, just like the previous speakers, it's $50,000. And now we hear the Growth Alliance is willing to walk away from $250,000 because they can't stand what Ken Pasha just described, putting the money into black hands on the east side of town. After decades of disinvestment, we finally make a little bit of progress, you know, redeveloping some empty lots into new homes, for example, reinvestment in Poplar Place, progress in finally dismantling the brownfields at Pillsbury, and there's more. But it's not nearly enough, especially today when we find out our city's probably going to be spending big money to host some fascist dog shooter and trend-setting cosplay influencer, a hate-mongering, unethical, overbearing, anti-American kook like Kristi Noem. Listen, our East Side neighborhoods are the very gateway to this city. It's the transportation nexus of the city, the interstate highway access, rail access, the transportation hub, and large tracts of contiguous available land ideal for manufacturing and distributing, and more contiguous lots for mixed uses and residential development. Even if you don't care one bit about the historic racialized disinvestment that got the East Side into the mess it's in, you should care that investing in it now lifts our entire community. I do care about that history. I've lived here in this area since I was born, and people who don't face discrimination think, oh, well, these federal laws that ended redlining, that took care of all that. But the evidence is to the contrary. Banks and lending institutions continue to devalue community investment in the exact same areas impacted by blatant redlining of 60 years ago. It's not just about redevelopment, though. It's about assuring that redevelopment addresses historic disinvestment in people. And by that, I mean jobs for the residents of East Side wards and for Black-owned businesses. Research consistently shows and establishes that an increase in the employment rate is correlated with a decline in crime rates, particularly firearm violence and homicide, and individuals who receive a living wage, that is, enabling them to meet their family's financial needs and supporting economic success, feelings of dignity and belonging. They're more likely to have stable employment, improved mental and behavioral health outcomes for themselves and their children. But individuals living in our East Side communities may experience significant barriers in accessing employment that pays a wage sufficient to support their families. That's why this type of investment is critical. And $50,000, God, $50,000 and hours of time debating it endlessly, this is ridiculous. Redlining, segregation, disinvestment, economic disadvantage, they all underline the interlinkage of structural racism and residential segregation embedded in our city. The evidence is right in front of your eyes. Market and policy actions taken since the end of de jure redlining have not achieved a de facto resolution. This tiny $50,000 and much more like it is needed to lift the entire city by vastly improving its gateway communities that have long suffered from this disinvestment. The council, the mayor, the county, and the Growth Alliance itself must work towards dismantling these systemic barriers to wealth accumulation to foster more inclusive and equitable communities for all. It's the best way forward for the entire city, and you should retain and expand that kind of funding, not debate it endlessly. Should be a
The next person signed up to speak is Ann Logue.
Crime seems to be a top concern for our city government here. It definitely shows in our budget. It is important to note that poverty and crime are intricately connected. 16% of the population in Springfield, Illinois lives in poverty. This is higher than the national average of 12%. Racism toward minorities leads to lower wages and fewer jobs, therefore resulting in higher poverty rates. Higher poverty rates result in increased crime. Diversity hiring practices help mitigate unconscious and conscious biases in the hiring process. Diversity hiring is crucial for neglected communities. This not only impacts individual lives, but benefits the entire city. The close relationship between poverty and crime is well documented. Reducing poverty reduces crime. It is a recognized strategy to address this issue. Most importantly, it also addresses generations of systemic discrimination leading to poverty conditions. Poverty that reduces inequality, policies that reduce inequality and provide equal opportunities, create stable and safe communities. Isn't that what we all want? Studies show that as money is distributed more evenly, crime decreases. And we know you care about crime. Diversity hiring ensures underrepresented groups have access to job opportunities that may have been previously inaccessible to them. Diversity hiring breaks down barriers. It helps dismantle systemic barriers that have historically prevented certain groups from entering the workforce or advancing with organizations. Diversity hiring contributes to more equitable society by addressing historic disparities and creating opportunities for marginalized groups to build that wealth that was stolen from them over centuries. Failing to address inequality and undo a history of discrimination and oppression only perpetuates this present climate here in Springfield of despair, anger, and fear. Springfield will continue to be haunted by this policy of invest in the West and leave the rest. We have it within our means to work at undoing centuries of hurt. The damage is right there every day in front of us for anyone with a conscience to see it. Systemic exclusion and neglect must be replaced with systematic inclusion and investment. I want to reiterate that May 8th is your last chance to advocate for like sidewalks on 19th Street, we don't have them, safe walking ways on the east side, safe bike paths, better mass transit, shelters for people who wait for buses. That's Thursday, May 8th, 4 to 6, open house at the old State Journal Register building.
Thank you. The next person signed up to speak is Jenna Broom.
Hi, I'm back. So I just want to call out, as somebody who has worked with governmental funds for 5 years now, the audacity of a fund recipient to state that they are not going to handle a condition given to them by the provider of funds is outrageous. That is mind blown. All right, that letter was something else. Not that he would know. Anyway, so I am from Sangamon County, and I know, Alderman Gregory, you have feelings about that. I do too. So I'm originally from Divernon, fun fact, home of the McCready family. Also, I graduated from Riverton, but I actually chose to buy a home here in Springfield because I don't know if you guys are aware, there are like no black people or people of color in Divernon. So I chose to live in a city that is diverse. But I will say, growing up in Springfield, or in Divernon, well, both of my parents worked in Springfield. I spent a lot of time here. I always heard that the east side was the bad side, right? It's the ghetto. I've been hearing that my whole life. I'm 38 years old. I've been hearing that my whole life. And I have seen the west side completely grow. I have seen down by my house, where I live in Ward 6, grow. I see it all, except for the east side. And I'm going to say again, the audacity of a group who we've given $2 million to, by the way, not $250,000, $2 million. And they throw a fit about 2.5% of that money because they don't want to give it to black people. Don't give them any more money. Like, why are we going to give these people any more money? They're going to throw a fit for 2.5% of their money because it's going to black people. It's unreal, man. Unreal. Okay. But It's mind-blowing to me. 38 years of my life, and we have the same problems on the same side of town. But the irony of that is that some of my favorite spots are on the east side of town. Two of the best parks in the city of Springfield are on the east side, J.C. Park and Comer Cox Park. Amazing, amazing. One of the best celebrations, the home of Juneteenth. Juneteenth takes place on the east side. If you don't go, I encourage you to go. It is great. It is, and as somebody who does all kinds of events and festivals in this town, that is the best one. I say that. They're not going to do it, right? The Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance, which is not going to do what we want them to do. They threatened us back when we asked them to. They threatened us back. Still mind blown by that, for the record. They threatened us back over $50,000. That's racist. Okay, we don't need to work with racist people, so let's just not work with racist people. How about that? Yeah, that's all I got. It's city money.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next person signed up to speak is Brianna Roberts.
Everybody say a prayer for Alderman Hanauer. Nothing happened to him. He's probably just getting chewed out really bad by SSGA right now. Tonight, I am coming to you as Bree. You guys know me as a community activist involved in all of these committees. I want to come to you just as myself tonight. I grew up on the east side, and that is all I know. I've only lived out of Springfield for 1 year, and even for that year, I dealt with racism. So, as somebody who grew up on the east side, I want to say, as a witness, I have seen the city turn its back on an entire side of town and then act surprised when the neglected becomes generations of trauma, poverty, and loss. I'm fortunate enough to have had education and access to resources, so I had the ability to stand here today, but the people I grew up with were not so lucky. I've lived the difference. I've watched kids that I grew up with go through life without safe homes, without mentorship, without food in their house. I've seen black families get denied for loans when white families in nicer neighborhoods get approved for less. I know people personally who have tried to launch businesses only to be denied grants that were supposed to be for everyone. But remember, every time it says for everyone, there's a tiny little writing underneath that everybody forgets to read, and it says, unless you're black. Even when programs are meant to benefit black residents, we are the last to benefit from it. This is not just my opinion. This is studied. Look it up yourself. I don't feel like I have the time to sit here and share the studies with you. Growing up in 62703, a 15-minute drive to the other side of town could give me 20 years extra on my life. And that is insane that we're not doing something about that. That should put an alarm bell in every single one of your heads. People on one side of town, 20 minutes away from some of you, are going to live 20 years less because they are black, because they are poor, and because they live in 62703, where we are always forgetting about their existence. I'm all for Ordinance 2025-156, the amended version where we create the Minority Advancement Group and give them $50,000. But I don't understand how we are standing here arguing about money when a predominantly rich white organization is telling you guys what you will and will not do with your money, when we have other nonprofit organizations like 1 in a Million who are still waiting for their loan reimbursement payments from February. But you guys are going to argue about $250,000 for a predominantly white organization. That's crazy. I know who you guys care about, and it's not people who look like me. These aren't even extreme demands. These are barely even bare minimum expectations to try to even show that you guys have a little inkling of care for the people on the east side of town. Just a little bit. You guys are lucky that we are not asking you to match us $250,000. Don't give us $250,000. We're not going to give you $250,000. Keep taking our money. I have a feeling and a hope that it should get to that point. Alderman Hanauer, I know you're not here, but you can hear me in the sky. If you proceed with removing these provisions, you will be on record for intentionally stripping away even the smallest amount of protection and of equity while our entire community is watching. And I want to acknowledge the aldermen and alderwomen for consistently standing up for Springfield. I'm not going to call you out, but you know who you are. But I am tired of this expectation falling solely on the backs of the black alder people. It should not be our job to tell you guys to care about us. We've been doing this since the beginning of time. Why is it so hard for you to care about us? We're darker than you. That's it. That's it. Otherwise, we're the same. We grew up in harsher conditions because of systemic racism, but guess what? We're still the same. Investing in black people is not a radical decision. It is a step towards equity. And if you are not taking intentional steps towards equity, you don't care about citizens. You care about your own benefit. You care about your money, and you care about people who are already in a position of power. You can't say Springfield is open for business and then deny black businesses before they even get to the door, okay? I urge you to support the amendment and pay black people what we deserve.
Thank you, ma'am. The next person signed up to speak is Sarah Roberts. Is Sarah Roberts here?
So I'm not a public speaker. I prepared a statement based on what the agenda said, and it's obviously things are not quite as they appeared, so this might not be perfect, but I think it needs to be said and the main points remain the same. It's darn near impossible for me to get out of the house for reasons I don't need to get into, but when I saw a call to action for this important issue that's been plaguing our city, our whole country really right now so severely, I had to find a way to get here. Forgive me, I'm an angry crier, and right now I'm pretty pissed. I was really disappointed, though sadly not surprised, to read that Alderman Hanauer, apparently on behalf of the SSGA, or maybe not since he made the call and not vice versa, is now backstepping on something that Alderman Gregory fought so hard to get 10 votes on last month. Alderman Hanauer represents folks on an end of town where I've paid plenty of tax dollars, but he certainly doesn't represent my family in the ways in which we would like to see our tax dollars being spent. And if I'm being honest, this move makes me embarrassed to admit that I live on his side of town. It's heartbreaking that the East Side continuously has to fight hard for funding that flies out the door without question for many others in the first place. But to see Gregory fight and succeed and then have to spend time fighting again, for what? The backpedaling that we're seeing feels awfully reminiscent of what's going on in Washington, D.C. right now with funding and law. I'd really like to think that Springfield is better than that, but here we are. Alderman Gregory said it best back on the 15th. Springfield's money should be for everybody. Why is it so hard to understand that Gregory isn't asking to take away funds from SSGA? He's only asking that his constituents, his neighborhoods, his ward small businesses and entrepreneurs be included in the efforts to make our city thrive, because simply put, as it stands, they're not. Who suffers if we ensure a tiny drop in the bucket of SSGA funding is guaranteed to go to the East Side? Nobody. That's the answer. No one. Who suffers if we continue to leave them out? The answer to that question, at a minimum, is our neighbors on the East Side. But if the city cares about all constituents as much as it should, the answer would be all of us, because we should care enough about our city as a whole to not want to leave certain subsects of it to deteriorate. Let me be clear. If SSGA would rather walk away from Springfield and give crumbs to the East Side, let them walk. Because as long as Springfield continues to deny its role in the perpetuation of systemic racism with moves like this, we will never reach our truest potential to be a city that thrives. Alderman Carlson mentioned that you're not here to micromanage. I'd argue that's exactly what you're here to do. To ensure that each of the wards within the city have representation and financial support by whatever means necessary. Alders of Springfield, particularly mine, Mr. Carlson, I beg of you, if this comes back around, do the right thing and show Alderman Gregory that his ward matters. And because I have a minute, I just want to use it to mention harm reduction saves lives. Clean laundry builds morale. You've got some incredibly good people putting in work in this community. I'd be glad to see more of my tax dollars head their way. Thank you for your time.
Next person signed up to speak is Caitlin Weiss. Caitlin? No. The next person signed up to speak is Ken Page.
No, I don't have to. Everything is good about me. But I want to share. Madam Mayor.
Sir.
Alderpersons, good evening. You know, I was born and raised in Selma, Alabama, and I grew up in the 60s. So my parents taught us that we were very smart kids. So you have to remember, when the Klan passed out literature on Saturdays on the street corners. So they said, do not confront them, go on the other side of the street. So when I moved here, after leaving the University of Alabama, I started referring to Springfield as up south. If you understand what I mean, it has a deep meaning. But Madam Mayor, I was here to discuss the Springfield Sangamon County Growth Alliance, and that was in that $50,000. And you know, and I would like to say this: racism is exhausting, and I'm speaking for myself tonight, not organizations that you know that I represent. I'm speaking for myself. Racism is exhausting. Racists are even more exhausting because you see them all the time. And, you know, and I appreciate everything that's been said tonight. It's extremely important for people to be able to express themselves, Madam Mayor. And I do appreciate that, but it is exhausting. And I would like to say that, to my chagrin, here we are with a new amendment, even though it was pulled. I was disappointed that that even happened tonight. And what was passed on April 15th, 2025, should still be standing. And there should have been no discussion after that. After you spend all that time, the back and forth discussion about $50,000. But, Madam Mayor, I am hopeful that that economic development plan for East Springfield is posted on the website somewhere, because I would like to see it, and I'm sure other people would like to see that. And also, it was read into the record, so the clerk's office should have this. Alderman Hanauer read a complete letter from the Growth Alliance, so that should be part of the proceedings of tonight that go on the record, so we do not have to FOIA that letter. That letter was read into the minutes. So that should be, by law, that should be part of the minutes from tonight. He read the entire letter. Of course, he probably didn't know that him reading it, that it was going to be part of the proceedings, but, so we don't have to go through FOIA to get that letter. I want to make sure, Mr. Clerk, that that is included in the proceedings from tonight. Everything that he read, that entire letter. Thank you, sir. And I know, and I appreciate Dr. Lisa Johnson, because Madam Mayor, I was going to mention this, and I think that people probably was waiting for me to mention this, but I know racism has been used to describe the consternation of some alderpersons when issues from East Springfield are on the agenda. Now, I'm not going to call those persons that feel that way, racists. I think that their actions speak for themselves. And it's concerning to me, Madam Mayor, and all the persons, that we are dealing with that in 2025 in the home of Lincoln. And I do understand that in 1908, the citizens of Springfield said, when they wanted to run all of us out of town, black folks, they said, Lincoln brought them here, so we're going to get rid of them. But we're still here. And even though I was not born and raised here, I bring great experience from the Deep South, where most of our ancestors started from, when the ships landed in the Mobile Bay, and we got off those ships, in the South Carolinas, when we got off those ships. And we're still here. And I would like to say this also, Madam Mayor, that people really enjoy watching the City Council. They live stream that, so they see the actions of everyone here. So I don't want you to ever think that people do not see this, even though they're not here. It's been exhausting for me. Racism is exhausting. Racists are exhausting. And I deal with them all the time, and I will continue to do that. But I say it's exhausting, and we should not have to deal with that around this horseshoe anymore. And
thank you,
the
sir.
east side get what they want. Yes, sir.
The next person signed up to speak is Tiffany Lapp. Is Tiffany Lapp here?
So, hi, Madam Mayor, alderpersons. My name is Tiffany Lapp. I am a homeowner in Enos Park. I happen to fall in Mr. Williams' ward because of some funny stuff, but Miss Purchase is a big part of our area, and I came tonight to stand with Alderman Gregory. I did not grow up here. I was born in Cook County. I grew up right outside of Cook County. My parents were poverty-stricken. We lived in a little town just outside of Chicago where my parents were far enough from their family that they didn't have to see them every day because my parents were a burden on my grandparents. And, you know, it was tough, but we were still privileged. We still had opportunities. We had all sorts of resources. There were all sorts of people involved and volunteers and food pantries and things. And that was when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s. So what are we still doing? What is going on? Why can't we all agree that every human life has value and every person's dream or goal is important, and we all deserve a piece of the pie? We're not taking away from anybody. We're not robbing anyone of anything. This is tax dollars. We're all paying into this system. We all should benefit. It's disappointing, and I didn't really want to be like an activist or involved in politics, except I feel like I need to be until things are right, until it's fair and it's reasonable and people get what they need. And we don't have any more people having to go to these little free pantries and line up around the block for food giveaways and all that. It's wrong. If people work, they should have what they need. I just feel like it's common sense. And our city is only as desirable as our ugliest, most neglected parts. Who wants to come here? My sister hasn't been here since 2019 because when she came, there was an encampment of homeless people walking distance from my house. She was so mortified by that. She has not been back since. I've had to go out. She lives in Arizona. And it's just, I don't get it. I don't see what some of these people cannot see. Don't we all want to win? Don't we all want to have a nice home and have our kids educated and have something for retirement and not be broke and working till we die. I mean, I don't have anything else to say. I'm here and I'm not going to go away until this is right. And there's other people that agree with me. So thank you all. Have a good night.
Person signed up to speak will be Michelle Cruz-Hine.
Hi, I'm also here for support of you. But I want to bring it back for a second to what Notriano had brought up with Christy Noem coming, and just especially since you had felt so compelled to come out in support of Trump in 2016, I wonder where you stand and how the heck you don't know if the police are going to be there and city and tax dollars are going to be involved, and how can you be the head of police and not even know where they're going to be tomorrow? That's kind of problematic in my head in just general. How are you managing the city and the funds, but you don't know if our tax dollars are going to that tomorrow? I really don't believe that. Also, it would be nice to know where you do stand with all of those issues happening today in the United States. It's infuriating. It's disgusting. Watching this session tonight was disgusting. How the letter is not sent to every single person on the city council is crazy madness. And he's so shady about the calls he makes. Do you know he tried to get my students not to be able to come here? Yeah, he made phone calls then too, to the superintendent's cabinet. But that was so political, wasn't it? Oh, it's so infuriating. I can't even explain it. The Growth Alliance gentleman, I rewatched the whole program last night. He sat there and said, I want it to be developed on the east side, but I just can't convince them. What? How can I have a contractor come to my house and say, I want you to do this, but guess what? I'm not going to do this. No, take the whole darn money and go to the east side, go to the north side, and do what you want. Forget them. They're disgusting. They have no right in this city. You have no right being on that board. You should recuse yourself completely from it. I got my master's in teaching and in education, and I studied and did my thesis on the school to prison pipeline. During that time, I realized housing, city planning, even a garbage can represent racism in a neighborhood. Certain neighborhoods have more garbage cans, so you find less litter. Certain parks have more garbage cans, so you find less litter. Little things like a garbage can. Who thinks about a garbage can? Not me. Until the day I read that and I was mind blown. All of that is in there. City planning is definitely perpetuating white supremacy. You all know that. You have to know that. And when you sit me there and stare at me with blank stares, I know exactly what is going in your head. Let me get back to my notes. I'm just mad. During the time that I researched the history of housing and housing projects and other various ways racism shows up in housing, city planning, and budgets, the history of housing projects came up. Cabrini Green and certain things like that, because I went to school in Chicago. It was planned for black and brown people to live in these projects and kill each other. It was purposefully placed next to wealthy neighborhoods to incite violence. 15,000 people living in a tiny building. What's going to happen? Especially poor, not receiving medical care, nothing. And then when they wanted to cut the budgets, they cut them first. They didn't replace the lights that had broken down on the streets. They paved over the lawn because everybody knows that nature does help mental health. You know, certain things, those little things, that matters. With all this, I just can't help but think about Springfield and the railroad tracks and the lights going off and it being a glitch. I did this the other day. I had to take students to an education task force meeting. The lights on the north side of the the railroad tracks, they started going off. They're like, go, just go, just go. It always happens. I'm like, what? This always happens? This is a regular occurrence? We don't have money in the budget to fix the damn train lights? What? Oh my God. This leaves me with one last thought. I thought about how many groups of white people have had their wealth confiscated from them time and time again. How many of their people have been massacred? How many white homes have been burnt down by neighborhoods destroyed by the KKK, police, or everyday white citizens going through their neighborhoods and burning it, killing them just because they had wealth or just because they wanted to. I could think of 5 off the top of my head for black neighborhoods: Rosewood, Florida; Atlanta, Georgia; Wilmington, North Carolina; Elaine, Arkansas; Tulsa, Oklahoma; and Springfield, Illinois.
The next person signed up to speak is Beth Langen. Is Beth Langen here? No. The next person signed up to speak would be Megan Freeman. Is Megan Freeman here?
Good evening. I also wrote something under the assumption that action was going to be taken on ordinance 2025-156. Although it was not. Obviously, the conversation is not over, so I'm going to share my brief thoughts. I am a resident of Ward 5, and I'm here tonight standing in support of Alderman Gregory, the Springfield Aldermanic Black Caucus, and its allies in their opposition to efforts being made to remove language adopted unanimously to Ordinance 2025-156 on April 15th, 2025. The ordinance as passed, unanimously passed, which included language that would create the Minority Business and Community Advancement Working Council and allocate a $50,000 payment toward that council's work, demonstrated that as a collective, or so I thought, you all acknowledged the disparities glaringly present in our city, and that you knew that concerted efforts must be made, focused must be paid, and the ordinance as passed, unanimously passed, seemed a step forward. And I ask that we keep moving in that direction. I ask that we do not move backwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it.